Welcome back, Truth Seeker. It is Monday, November 13th, 2023. Just had the Superior General's 75th birthday yesterday. And tomorrow, King Charles will turn 75. And remember, the big news stories last year, there were supposedly murders on this date last year at two universities. The Virginia Cavaliers had 3 members of their football team murdered. And then on November 13th, in Idaho at the University of Idaho in Moscow, Idaho, just on the border of Washington near Washington State University, you had the murder of 4 college students on King Road. And both of these murder stories last year from November 13th, they didn't make the headlines until the next day, November 14th, which was King Charles' birthday. And again, think about it. Murders on King's Road. And then the Cavaliers, it's a historical connection. In the time of the English Civil War, those who fought for King Charles were called Cavaliers. So I'm bringing these things up just as a reminder of kind of how fateful things seem to happen ritualistically on the same types of dates. Today in the headlines, Donald Trump's federally appointed, she was appointed by Ronald Reagan as a federal judge in New Jersey back in '83. And again, she passes on this day at 86. And we're going to see how perfect this ritual is and why it came on this day and what it has to do with the upcoming election, as well as the death of Donald Trump's brother, Robert Trump, on the Jesuit order's birthday, as well as the recent death of his ex-wife, Ivana. We're going to get into this, but I was reminded of something. I was working a bit on my book this morning, and I was going back and reading older versions of the 201 book that I've been working on in the past and abandoned to rewrite it this way. And I realized in my notes that are over 2 years old now, there's a 201 that I wrote about in the book. It was like a new discovery at the time. Sometimes when I'm writing a book, I'll just share with you guys the information right away in a video. And sometimes when I've been writing books, I'm like, I'm going to keep that so for the person who reads the book, it's a fresh new piece of information and it feels extra worthwhile to be reading the information. Because a lot of, if you've ever read my books and watched my videos, of course, a lot of the information is redundant, but I try to tuck some gems in there for the people, again, who read the books. Thank you. But man, I'm glad I reread over this one because it's a 201 that had just slipped through the cracks. I wrote about it in the book and then didn't mention it again. I had to double check it to make sure it was still true today. In an older version of the 201 book I've been trying to write and complete for going on 3 years now, I had mentioned how vanity here, let's rewind. Let's go back to 2016. So this is what I'm writing about in the book. In 2016, you might recall the beginning of the year, we had the 58th Grammys, and Vanity dropped dead the day of the 58th Grammys. And we said, oh man, Prince better look out because Purple Rain equals 58. And that's Prince's girlfriend from the time of Purple Rain. And then he ended up dying on 4/21. The 4th month, the 21st day of the month, U is the 21st letter. He had the song in '83, I Would Die For You. I Would Die For You, spelled with the number 4 and the letter U in '83. That's the same year this lady got appointed by Ronald Reagan, who ran on Make America Great Again, which Donald Trump copied. And of course, Donald Trump and Ronald Reagan both have Hollywood acting credits and credits as being president of the United States. Lots of parallels. But okay, so again, Donald Trump was running for the 58th U.S. presidential election at the time, and he announced he was running from the 58-story Trump Tower. And again, it was the 58th Grammys to start 2016, the year he'd be elected at the end of the year in November. Grammys at the start of the year, but Vanity dies. And then Prince dies at age 57, meaning he died in his 58th year of life. Again, when you're born, you begin your first year of life. When you turn 1, you begin your second year of life. When you turn 2, you begin your third year of life. When you turn 3, so on. So when you turn 57, you begin your 58th year of life. Prince was in his 57th year of life, or excuse me, his 58th year of life because he was 57. The 201 with Prince's death and Donald Trump and Purple Rain, from the day Prince died to the election was 201 days later. And of course, inauguration day is the 201st day of the year. And we've talked about how Joe Biden sacrificed his whole family, like sacrificed his family tree by the 201 code to get inaugurated as president on the 201st day of the nation's age on 20/1. And last year, we talked about Trump burying his ex wife on the 201st day of the year and how they were married in a 201 ritual and how they had Donald Trump Jr. on the 201st day of Trump's age and how you can see through this number what the cabal is, who's in it, who are the puppets on strings, who are being used to deceive and play the masses. Again, you can see through what this Illuminati network really is and why the number 201 is so important to them. So again, we'll revisit all these things, but I'm not sure I ever ended up sharing on a video the Prince 201 election thing. We'd already been talking about it that year with Prince and Purple Rain and Trump and the parallels with him and the Queen and royalties purple. But I'm not sure. I don't think I ever did. I think I was keeping that as a gem for the book, and I had literally forgotten about it until I reread over it, going back over my my past writings that I stopped or decided weren't good enough. And that's why as I read back over this stuff, I'm like, I should have just released this a long time ago. I mean, look how relevant, look how much we're constantly talking about the same things. Now, the good news is from not releasing it and just having so many examples, I can write more efficiently as time goes on and just be like, yeah, these are the really key events that just, they clue people in. And with regards to the ritualism, let's not forget that Vanity died on the anniversary of Prince's mother's death. Prince on the Queen's birthday. Remember, the Queen knighted Captain Tom, and then Captain Tom died 201 days later from COVID. And then the Queen was diagnosed with COVID, and then 201 days later, she died. And again, Event 201, put on by the Jesuit Klaus Schwab, was the pandemic simulation. Again, all of these rituals, you guys, what's being done to us? 9/11. Remember, it was Prince, you guys. It was Prince who was overseas and said he was disappointed that the tour was coming to an end and he's got to go back to America. And pretty soon they're going to drop the bomb. And then what was he singing? Oh, I got to go back and listen to that clip because it's been years since I listened to it. If you don't know about this, Prince obviously knew something about 9/11 and it coming. And you think about it too. Prince was the musician who had the song "Let's Party Like It's 1999." I mean, that was a huge song growing up in that era. They played it all the time. They still play it in 1999's way past. But it wasn't long after 1999 turned that it was 9/11 in a whole new world. I mean, for all you guys who weren't alive before then and you're growing up in the 2000s, again, it's always good to be alive because there's still beautiful things, but they've been sucking the beauty out of life and really drastically changing this world in more of a fear-based world, more of an Orwellian, authoritarian world. And it's not nice. And Trump's one of these people on the stage playing the part, and people aren't seeing through it. But yeah, let's transition to the death of Maryanne Trump, who's held federal office since '83. No, she's dead 40 years later. Ronald Reagan was number 40. If you're new here, Gematria, we'll talk about it. That's a big number with this country. That's a number specific to this country, 40. But yeah, again, I had to start there because the first image I saw this morning was this one put out, and I just thought, there it is again with the purple. If you guys don't know, when Donald Trump won the election, Bill and Hillary Clinton came out to concede, and they were both wearing purple. And there were a lot of rituals with purple and Trump. There's an episode of Suddenly Susan in history where Donald Trump's the president of the United States and the magazine covers purple. Again, look these things up. I wrote about them in my book. My first book, Letters and Numbers, it's all in there. But for the record, Gematria of purple equals 88. So does Trump. Again, Trump came out to Queen, "We Are the Champions" for the first time at his convention 88 days after the Queen's birthday. We've been talking about how all of these things are connected and how you can see through it with this code for a long time now with a lot of examples. I literally got 2 books and thousands of videos on it. But if you're new here, Gematria, the cipher, like when Prince died, I was only really looking at 2 ciphers, and about 90% of my work was in this one cipher. I just want to make the point about Purple Rain and Prince's death right before Trump wins the 58th election. Purple rain in gematria equals 58. And how does this work? You take the alphabetic order. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, up to Z the 26 letters, 26. You take the alphabetic order and you just turn each letter into a number. And this is an old world practice that goes back to Hebrew. And, that's where the historical record ends at this day and age, but maybe it goes back even further than that. They say this knowledge goes back to Babylon. So purple rain's 58. And remember, things like Freemasonry are 58, secret societies 58, Solomon's Temple, that's where Freemasonry secrets are, is 58. Rosicrucian, a related order, is 58. Never forget that King James, who has the Bible named after him, he died unexpectedly at age 58. He was a Freemason and a Rosicrucian. Again, Trump announced from a 58-story tower that he was running from the 58th election. The Masons historically are builders. And again, you want to get more technical. Things like tracing board equal 58, which is important to Freemasonry. To get your first 3 degrees of being a Mason, you must complete a tracing board for each level, which pertains to the secrets of Solomon's Temple. And again, we've been looking at this, aware of these things for a decade now, and going, I mean, it's obvious that somebody encoded the language. Who did it? And it took years of research to confirm, like, yeah, it really does make sense that it was the Jesuits. They're responsible for modern Freemasonry. We're on the Pope's calendar. The calendar we're on is named after the Pope, and the most simple cipher, Pope's 52, like 52 weeks in the year. But again, in the 16th century, we got this calendar named after the Pope. The Jesuits were created earlier in that century at the same time as the calendar. The language is standardized with the alphabet and spellings and the 26 letters. And again, just so many examples. But one of the most blatant years in the year of so much growth, because we had so many accurate predictions. We nailed every sports future. Sadly, we called Prince's death, called a lot of news stories. At the beginning of the year, called the election dead on. But again, I called Trump. I explained why Trump would be the president in February of 2016 before I changed my mind months later. And then I was wrong for the last few months. I just thought I'd gotten too ridiculous with Trump. And I kept bringing up the Howard Dean example. I was like, remember how Howard Dean couldn't even say wahoo? You have Trump like literally mimicking special needs people and doing like you're a kid in grade school. In the 90s, we used to do that. We'd be like, oh, you're a retard. We'd do that. Trump literally did that on the campaign trail. When I started to see that stuff, I was like, oh, never mind. My opinion changed to this must just all be some setup to get Hillary in there, the first woman, because nobody can stand her. So I guess this is the way they do it. So yeah, I mean, and people, that's what all my haters always bring up. They're like, oh, he liked Hillary. Yeah, I did change my opinion to Hillary, but I had it dead on in February 2016 why it would be him, the polarizing figure, the numbers, the code, the rituals. That was before they sacrificed Prince for it. And anyhow, again, Prince dead April 21st, 2016. The election that year was November 8th, 2016. 201 days. And in this same cipher, the official title of Inauguration Day, look it up on the government website if you doubt it. Promise you it's this: Inauguration of the President of the United States, 201. And again, the date is 20/1. And if you measure from July 4th, the nation's birthday, January 20th is the 201st day of the nation's age each year. I mean, just think about that. Just think about that. And think about how the nation's capital again moved to the Jesuit stronghold, D.C., where 201's their whole history. That's why the first Jesuit Pope, who's alive right now in the time of Trump, Jesuit educated at Fordham is Trump, Pope Francis, the first Jesuit Pope whose name equals 201, the first to live in Suite 201. This is an all-important number to the Jesuits and the Illuminati, which was founded by the Jesuit. But yeah, regarding Illuminati, if you don't know about 201 and the Illuminati, I know you're brand new here. I'll review it, but here's the piece to just really pound home today. Today, November 13th, the day of her death. Again, this woman who held federal office since 40 years ago, appointed by number 40, Reagan, the man with all the parallels. And again, Reagan, who ended the Iranian hostage crisis. And right now we got the Hamas hostage crisis backed by Iran, and Jimmy Carter on his deathbed, and all these perfect rituals, they got all synced up as we're documenting day after day, And again, for all the people who keep making videos about me and denouncing Gematria and saying that there's no need for this knowledge because everybody already knows what's up and Gematria doesn't reveal anything new, it's just like, I don't know how anyone can honestly say that. This shows how cold the code is, how perfect it is. Look at it, you guys. November 13th, the day leaving 48 days left in the year. Donald Trump, same cipher, this most pure one, the one where we began with. Donald Trump, 48, just like Illuminati, 48. 48 laws of power. The Illuminati founded 64 days before the United States of America was established. 64 moves on the chess, spaces on the chessboard. Donald Trump's Jesuit education began in 64 at Fordham. But notice she's also dead on her 223rd day of her age, the 48th prime, right? The 48th prime. It's possible that Joe Biden does not finish his term. Kamala becomes number 47, the first black woman president, when Obama, who also went to the Oval Office with Biden, was age 47 when he took the White House. And Biden was the 47th vice president. And Biden was in Washington, D.C. as a senator for 47 years before he became president-elect, when Trump said, I've done more in 47 months than Biden's done in 47 years. And Trump equals 47 like president, like Caesar, like White House, like government, like authority, like Republican, like Democrat, like the letters D.C. itself. And you're saying, how can D.C. equal 47? We're looking at mostly the most pure cipher, but the 4 ciphers are the alphabetic order forwards and backwards with numerology. You just run the alphabetic order in reverse, the letters D.C. are 47. These are big ritual numbers. And, today has 47 date numerology. 2 numbers that always come together in this study with regards to death are 67 and 86. She's 86 years old. The reason those numbers come together all the time. You see how blood sacrifice is 67 and so is human sacrifice? They're both 67. If you run the alphabetic order in reverse with numerology, they're both 86. Human sacrifice, 67 forwards, 86 in reverse. Blood sacrifice, same thing. And just countless of examples of how these numbers come together in these suspicious, symbolic deaths that will have this element, and they'll be perfectly coordinated with, again, her dying in light of her brother who's, again, running for federal office. And by the way, just the most simple cipher. Here's where we began. Back in 2016, when Prince died, we were still just looking at these 2 ciphers. We'd always make this point. Federal equals 51 with the alphabetic order. Federal equals, not federal, but conspiracy equals 51 with the alphabetic order in numerology. And again, the area 51 that's associated with federal conspiracy, you know what I mean? Just the phrase tinfoil hat to denounce new information. Oh, it's tinfoil hat. Trump's a white hat. He's the truth. But tinfoil hat's even 51. So, Rome. Again, Washington, D.C. was once known as Rome on the Potomac. All the Roman architecture, all roads lead to Rome. The Romans, Roman numerals, letters and numbers. Clues about letters and numbers all abound. Your math classes. You start to get into higher levels of math. You start having to solve equations like 4 plus X equals 7. Got to solve for X. Subtract the 4 from the 7. Oh, X equals 3. The letter becomes the number. But yeah, it's not just letters and numbers too, right? There's other components to it. There's color schemes. There's a reason they keep putting the same colors in front of you. Dates, rituals, elements in the ritual, spells and spelling, elements in the ritual, colors in the ritual, colors in the spell. Purple, it's associated with poison. Society's never been more divided in the time of this. I haven't been here the whole time. Perhaps they have done the same stunt in the past, but in my lifetime, I've never seen a president so surrounded to so much purple. And again, most simple cipher, purple 88, Trump 88. And in a way back then, back in the early days when we were just pretty much looking at these 2 ciphers, it was kind of like an easier subject to follow because we're just looking at 2 ciphers and there's so much overlap and it's all we needed every day to expose the news. We're like, oh, doesn't it make so much sense? Oprah 58, she interviewed Trump in 1988 about running for U.S. president someday. I mean, look at that now in hindsight. Oprah Winfrey, interesting numbers forwards, but you wouldn't recognize them until you learn the reverse half of the code and how they relate to the nation and secret societies and Freemasonry. But notice when you run the alphabetic order in reverse numerology, Oprah Winfrey is 58. And that's why that when we discovered reverse gematria right about the time Trump became president-elect, and then we just had a whole new set of vision of like, wow. And then because we understood that Berlin Wall was 45 and why he was called president-elect in the early hours of November 9th as Bill and Hillary came out in purple. We're like, look at that. On the anniversary of the fall of the wall, Trump's the 45th president-elect. But then when we realized how 63 mattered, we said, oh, look at that. That's crazy because 2016 is the 63rd triangular number. This ritual in 2016 on the anniversary of the fall of the wall when he wanted to build the wall, and the word rituals 27 forwards, and it's the 27th anniversary of the fall of the wall, and it's this 45 thing, and he's number 45. I mean, and then ritual in 81, you guys. Don't even get me started with Biden beating Trump with 81 million votes, and Biden being from Scranton, where The Office ran for 201 episodes. That's on Interstate 81. Because remember, President Trump is 72 forwards, 81 in reverse, and President Biden is 72 forwards and 81 in reverse. And Jesuit orders 72 and 54 and 144 and 153. We're going to talk about how all those numbers matter with her death. We haven't even gotten to that part, but all of these numbers are in her death and the ritual with Prince. Prince also died 54 days before Trump's birthday. The Jesuit educated one. Today, for example, his sister's dead on the 153rd day of Trump's age. This is 359 days before the election, which is the 72nd prime number. The Jesuit suppression in history ended on the 359th day of the year. So these aren't new patterns. These are things we've been talking about with the Jesuits and their history. And then 144, you can go on all day about it. President Biden, notice even President Biden has the 144. Remember, Jesuit Georgetown simulated the election June 12, 2020, that Biden would win, Trump would refuse to step down and lead deadly violence. All these presidential assassinations in 144 throughout history. We did a big stream on why Robert F. Kennedy Jr. got in the race 144 days after the Superior General's birthday on April 5th, which is also Maryanne Trump's birthday. But why he got in the race that day, 144 days, again, from the Jesuit order leader's birthday, which was just yesterday now. But when Kennedy got in, it was 144 days after at the time. Again, his dad was pronounced dead at 1:44 in the morning in an assassination. In a clear Jesuit ritual, JFK died a span of 144 days from meeting with the Pope. Both Dealey Plaza and Ambassador Hotel equal 54. April 5th can be written 5/4 or 4/5. Maryanne Trump, born on that date. You know, Trump, number 45, last year buried his ex-wife, Ivana, 45 years after their marriage in 77. And again, Oprah Winfrey, she's got that 77 in it. Trump's 77 years old right now. Secret Society, 77. United States, 77. How come Trump, the ultimate truth teller to all these people who think he's the white hat, he doesn't drop the gematria facts on with what they did on 9/11 or a million other things, including his rigged election? Again, self-explanatory rhetorical question, but here, let me make sure we hit all the points. So again, we began with the purple, how it goes back through 2016, Prince, and a whole bunch of other things. You remember, it wasn't just Prince that died. God, what's that 90s hip-hop group that was on the radio? That one of their members' name was Prince as well. He died right after Prince, and then they put out all the images with him in purple. It's just like when the Astro World tragedy happened, and the next day, UB40, the member named Astro, died, and it was right after the Astros had lost the World Series, and then they won it the next year on the anniversary of the Astro World tragedy, which was remember the 5th of November. Oh, yeah. Speaking of 144, you guys, next year the election's on Guy Fawkes Day. That's the Jesuit who tried to blow up British Parliament because they didn't like that the King James Bible was going to get the knowledge out to a lot of people. And the election next year on this important Jesuit day with Donald Trump, this Jesuit-educated man, and so is Biden, who's might not be in the election. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Again, we've been thinking since the day that he went in there that around June 1st, 2024 will be the day that he disappears because of the whole 201 thing. Again, he sacrificed his son, Beau Biden, 201 days before the Pope's birthday at age 46. His wife and daughter died in a big 201 ritual in 72 when he became senator-elect. And then he was 72 years old when his son died. And now his wife just turned 72 and got COVID. But the election is 144 days after Trump's birthday. Again, his sister born on 5/4, dead on the 153rd day of his age, 359 days before the election, the 72nd prime. Again, when people are uploading these videos, like making fun of the work and like denouncing Jesuits and how dumb the idea is and how 4 ciphers are so stupid. It's like, they don't, I mean, I guess people who are paid to do things will just do whatever they're paid to do because they need the money. It's sad. That's the whole problem with living in a world that's economically based. It's not the world that the creator made for us. Creator made a world of abundance and nature and food and common sense, and then the psychopaths came in with the money system to control everybody, and that's where we are. And that's why you got everybody selling everybody out for the almighty dollar. You know how it says, "In God we trust"? What is people's real God? God's 26 letter, like the 26 letter alphabet. In Hebrew, the 4-letter name of God, the tetragrammaton's 26. You know, the Torah, the story that all the Abrahamic religions are based in, is 26. And Elo, I'm actually, hold on, thinking about something else. It's escaping, but hold on. Just to come back to the main point, too, about God and money. God is 26. So is bank. So is dollar, right? They got everybody selling themselves out for the dollars, all under the spell of the language. Hardly anybody about the right things. Most people just, the dollar is the almighty. It comes before all other things. Probably even comes before, for most people, God, even if they say they believe in God. Sorry, God, I got to do this today to stay afloat. Forgive me. I'll be in the confessional. I'll give a tip to the, the priest or whatever. So that's the world they set up for us. The indulgences. That's why everyone was fleeing Europe. Catholic Church punishing everybody with sin punishment. Got to pay the big expensive indulgence. Pope needs a new palace. Anyway. Let me see. I've made that point many times. Again, you guys can read the post for more information. I was thinking about making the point about 68 and 201. Maybe I should make it real quick. Remember, in the 16th century, the heliocentric model was established, and heliocentrism equals 201, just like the Jesuit order, just like their founder, Ignatius of Loyola, just like their first Jesuit pope, the first to live in Suite 201, who's Jorge Mario Bergoglio, Pope Francis. Pope Francis, the Jesuits were credited in France. The last French pope was the 201st in the history of the church. Catherine the Great saved the Jesuit order with 201 Jesuit priests, and on and on and on. Don't forget this one either. It's another important one. Leo Jeremiah O'Donovan, that's the Jesuit priest who did the funeral for Beau Biden at age 46, and the inauguration for Joe Biden is number 46 on the 201st day of the nation's age, after his son died 201 days before the Pope's birthday. You see how Illuminati's 150, and so is heliocentrism? Again, the heliocentric model, the sun's at the center of it all, 150 million miles away. Heliocentrism, the sun in the model's the nearest star. It's just like all the other sparkly things out there, supposedly in this model. But it's also the thing worshipped by the Catholic Church. We call the people who are larger than life stars. Donald Trump's a megastar. Trump's got all the 88s, the zodiac, 88 constellations. Anyhow, heliocentrism. The model comes from the Greek word for the sun, helios, which is 68 and 94, just like planet. Don't get me started on 9/11 in 1968. And the World Trade Center's opening on the 94th day of the year, which Trump's connected to because he was interviewed the day of 9/11 because his insurance company came crumbling down and he thought something was up. But in 1968, the whole plan went into motion for 9/11. World Trade Center construction, 9/11, and a million other things. Again, opened on the 94th day of 73. Coronavirus was coined in 68, and it had a ton to do with 94 as well. Case in point, coronavirus pandemic's 94. It terrorized the world. The word terror is 68, 94. Systemic terror from the Illuminati, the Jesuit cabal that knows the code, that uses all this along with Hermeticism and just putting negative vibrations out there to harness or whatever they do. To remain large and in charge like they do. But anyway, these numbers are not an accident. Coronavirus coined in 68. Fentanyl approved by the FDA in 68. Big time bad year. RFK assassination. MLK assassination. Never forget MLK killed on the 95th day of 68. Martin Luther wrote the 95 Theses. The Jesuits were credited in response exactly 201 months later. So Donald Trump, he's in charge during the time of Event 201, the pandemic. Never forget, it began 56 years after his Jesuit education. The man at the head of NIH was Jesuit-educated Anthony Fauci, whose name equals 56, like the virus. like Washington, D.C., like Society of Jesus, like Gavin Newsom, who locked down California with his Jesuit education, saying 56% of y'all are going to get the virus in 8 weeks, which is 56 days. And now he's 56 years old. And some people are thinking if Biden doesn't make it, it might be Gavin. Again, he's a definite candidate, especially at age 56. What if that's what they got planned for us this winter? COVID's back in a big way. The president just passed from the cooties. It's all started in Scranton with the 201 episodes of The Office, the latest big joke. And just like Donald Trump became to be an authority figure through The Apprentice, which is the honorary degree of Freemasonry, The Apprentice wins the 58th election. So, look at this. Look how CNN even shades it so it's purple hair. Not only is she wearing purple, but they got to shade it so there's purple in people's hairs bouncing off their foreheads. This news network that broadcasts by the code every day. They got to post it 45 minutes after the hour. Can you see that? That it's posted at 11:45 a.m. Maryanne Trump Barry, the eldest sister of former President Trump, dead at 86, 45 minutes after the hour. Again, we covered why it matters that she's dead at 86 on the 67 date numerology. Big time pattern. Blood sacrifice, human sacrifice. Same numbers over and over. 67 date numerology today. 40 years after appointment by Reagan to the federal bench in 83, which was Prince's Purple Rain year. We're going back to Purple Rain, and she's been pictured with Trump in purple all this time. Like they were all part of this club, helping bring about this agenda. All doing their part as characters on the stage you look at it on one hand, right? Prince was out there on tour giving clues about this 9/11 event to come with Osama bin Laden. He knew somehow. Just like Bill Cooper knew somehow. He came from military intelligence. Jesuits Intelligence Network, the CIA, established on the 201st day of the Pope's age. The words in their logo in that most pure cipher, 201, Central Intelligence Agency, United States of America. But, Donald Trump, love him or hate him, he made a big deal about fake news. He didn't talk about how fake news he was a big part of, but just doing it was kind of a good thing because it woke people up. Again, if you just want to take all the good things that people did, you'd have to love Prince for dropping the clues about 9/11. You'd have to love Donald Trump for saying fake news so much because it got people to think the news is fake. Finally. We've been saying the same thing since way before, but we're not Donald Trump. We weren't put on the world stage, not billionaire status, names on towers all over the world, Vegas, New York, a million other places. These are larger than life people. These are people that got influence, but they're in the club. When George Carlin talked about RIP to George Carlin, who got taken out. It's funny. If you go watch my old video about George Carlin, which was deleted on 20 channels ago, but even the old blog posts, I show how his death was synced up with his HBO special. How many celebrities have died synced up with their HBO special since? Just a ton. We just talked about it with Matthew Perry. Dead on 10/28. Read Matthew 10/28. It's part of the joke. The Holy Bible 201. Don't forget it. Jewish mysticism 201. All of Donald Trump's children that are married into what kind of families? And again, no anti-Semitism. It's not Jewish people who are doing this. It's the Jesuit cabal, which involves all kinds of people. Atheists, agnostics, Catholics, Jews, Muslims, everything. But yeah, the Jesuits were mostly created out of a Jewish Catholic alliance with several Jewish men who converted to Catholicism, including the founder Ignatius Loyola, whose name also equals 201. And if I forgot to mention, the first Jesuit Pope, Pope Francis, his name also equals 201. Again, the Jesuits created modern Freemasonry, so doesn't that make so much sense? He becomes Pope shortly before Trump becomes president. Okay, other things that matter. In light of her taking federal office, Maryanne Trump Barry, in 83 is the 23rd prime number. Here we are in the year 2023. Been a lot of 23 this year. Donald equals 23. With regards to 83, the Donald equals 83. Election equals 83. So does leap year. In this system they have set up, they have it so that our elections in this country are in leap years. Things we've been talking about for a long time. But again, she's dead 51 weeks before the election. Held federal office, 51. Her brother running federal office. She's this week's offering. I mean, it's probably not an accident that we refer to it as office, and there's always all this ritualistic death connected to it. Office. They got to speak in this cursed language. Office. Offering. Give an offering to the church. A lot where these concepts are coming from. Ritualistic sacrifice. Old world stuff. You got to sacrifice to please the God. You feel like the God is giving you good fortune. You got to keep giving it the offerings. So you can keep having the good fortune. So you can control who's in office. Because who's in office is helping shape the landscape of the land. So you got to have the type of people in there that do what you want. That are going to do your bidding. In your system. That you control from the shadows. The secret society. The infamous secret society that launched just 64 days. Don't forget International Chess Days from Paris, France, where the Jesuits are from, and it's celebrated on the 201st day of the year. Isn't that a nice touch? 64 spaces on the chessboard. Again, Trump's Jesuit education began at Fordham in 64, and Fordham's the big 88 university like Trump's 88, and think about what 8x8 is. It is the chessboard, 8x8, 64 spaces. Making moves under the stars, the 88 constellations. Notice when she got appointed in 83, it was October 7th, right? That's the day the war popped off in Israel this year, a date that we circled on October 4th because we decoded the 10-4 emergency alert. See, for the troll out there that really does want our attention and is watching right now, you know the truth of the matter, so you're exposing more and more. The more you do, the more it exposes what you are. October 4th, the video that I put out for October 4th is why we needed to look to October 7th, 3 days later, for terrorism, 9/11 type event to pop off another war type of thing, why it mattered that day, what they were encoding that day. That was what I put out in the world that day. Useful knowledge, why they did the same 10-4 emergency alert in Russia and the U.S., and why it mattered that it was Putin's 71st birthday on October 7th, 71 days before the Pope's birthday, and where all this comes together. That was the video I put out, which was another correct prediction showing what's going on in the world. Useful knowledge, relevant knowledge that people can learn and apply, as so many have. The video you put out was that you better put your phone in a Faraday cage because everyone's going to turn to zombies today. Something big's going down. You were super freaked out about it. That's what you put out into the world. Put your phone in a Faraday cage. Keep it in the microwave far away from you. Don't be anywhere near that because, man, watch that they're about to unleash the zombies. That was your video. And now you're putting out videos that Gematria is bullshit and you already know everything I know and more. I told people not to trip on October 4th. I said, your cell phone can't kill you. I'm sure that all this radiation and crap that comes out of it's probably not good for us, but we got it all everywhere with this technology. 5G's been here, and I'm not tripping like that. But I do recognize that this emergency alert is about, what did I say again about, besides just predicting October 7th correctly, what else did I say that day? I said, remember how this thing came out? We all started to get these cell phones around 9/11. Remember, people just started to get the cell phone at the end of the 90s, early 2000s. Everyone was starting to get them for the first time. Before that, only rich people had the big block phone. Nobody really had cell phones until the end of the 90s, early 2000s. I held out to get a cell phone until my second semester of college. I was just becoming, people were like, what? You know, like by then, people were like, how do you still not have a phone? And I just saw the downside of the phone the whole time. Then people could be able to call you all the time. I don't want people calling me all the time. My mom's going to be driving me nuts to be completely real. But everybody started to have a phone around that time. And I guess technically I got my phone after 9/11 because 9/11 happened days into college. September 11, 2001. I started college at the end of August 2001. I got my first phone probably January 2002. And again, I had a landline in my dorm room. You know, you want to call me? I'll pick up at my home in the dorm room until then. And anyway, though, remember what they did, though? All of a sudden, all these new laws, this Patriot Act, all these new laws that through the phone, they can keep track of everything, emails. We weren't even to the smartphone yet, but all of a sudden you could keep track of voice messages, phone calls, pager text messaging. All of this now was a new thing. It wasn't protection from search and seizure by government. It wasn't you need a warrant. It was like, listen, it's the age of terrorism. We just want to do scans, make sure there's you're not like texting like we're gonna go blow up the New York Bridge right now. That they said that's what they're looking for. So we're like, okay, that's cool. I'm not if that's all they're looking for. I'm not doing that. But we know that's not just what they were doing. They're collecting all this data and information, learning even more about human behavior, how to manipulate it more, how to build algorithms to super manipulate. I mean, all of these things unfold as they do intentionally. At the same time, everybody was getting this device that's like attached to their body, always in their hand or in their pocket or close by or next to them on their desk. I mean, I'm guilty of it. I mean, unless I forget it, and sometimes I will put it in the other room when I just need to write for 3 hours and not be distracted. I will leave it out in the kitchen or in the living room or the. Try not to bring my phone in the bedroom that much, but it's usually in the kitchen, in the living room, and anyway, I mean, and we've even been warned about it, even on cable news now. They're like, "Oh, you might want to cover your camera." Yeah, from looking into this, it looks like somebody really might be out there if they want to, listening all the time. I remember Democracy Now! Did a story with Amy Goodman years ago about how there's a backdoor through Apple with the feds where if they're watching you through your camera, it doesn't even like turn on the light, so you don't know. I was like, oh, well, I'm glad I tuned into today's episode. But at the same time, it's like, if this is the world we live in, I mean, I don't like it, but I'm not going to live in fear of that. I'm like, okay, they're spying on everybody. It's because they're scared. I'm going to try to get enough people to wake up so we can get these scaredy cat loser weirdos creeping on us more and more through their trickery and deception to end them. Beat them at their own game. That's been the mentality over here. But anyway, coming back to this, her anniversary dates for federal office appointed by Reagan, October 7th, super special day. Again, we didn't invade, the war in Israel didn't start on that day by accident. Wrote a book about why that day matters so much to warfare and history and the church and the Templars and why we went into Afghanistan on that day, 10/7 after what happened in New York in the time of the 107th mayor, Rudy Giuliani, when 9/11 went down on his 107th day of his age, like 10/7, like military's 107. Like it's the day leaving 85 days left in the year, like Templars 85, like how the Jesuits have the Templar cross in their logo and are a military order. But from that October 7th anniversary to this woman's death, span of 38 days. And she's also dead 38 months after Trump's birthday, or not Trump's birthday, excuse me. She's dead 38 months after Trump's brother, who died on the Jesuit order's birthday, August 15th, the other year. 38 months later. That was back in 2020 that Trump's brother died. But 38, as we know, death equals 38, murder 38, killing 38, RIP 38, Pentagon 38. A lot of RIPs because of the Pentagon on the 38th parallel north. Again, Kabbalah's 38, where this whole code comes from, like Gematria is 38, like English is 38, like energy is 38. Again, talk about the same stuff all the time, but 38 days from the anniversary of her being appointed. And from the anniversary of her exit on the 25th, which is fitting because Trump also equals 25. But from that day to today is a span of 20 days. And 38 and 20, where do they come together? They come together in the word death in Gematria. Death is 38 and 20. And we just mentioned how Trump is 25. So is death. And you see how death's also 97, which is the 25th prime. And for the record, so is Biden. That's why President Biden and President Trump are the exact same. And they have very similar life rituals and ritual sacrifices and, perfectly scripted rituals getting into the Oval Office. Just like how we never came off Biden. So we were dead right about Trump when we called it before he was even the Republican nominee. But then we came off it. So then we were wrong. But we never came off Biden. We explained long in advance why Joe Biden would be number 46, elected 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday, like JFK killed at age 46, like the 46 books in the Catholic Old Testament and the 145 more chapters. And JFK, number 35, the first Catholic, killed at age 46. And Israel, the Jewish nation, created on 14/5. And now the war pops off in Israel on Putin's 71st birthday, 71 days for the Pope's. And those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. Hamas is intelligence controlled, just like Osama bin Laden was intelligence controlled and paid for by the US CIA to interfere with the Russians and the Soviets in Afghanistan. And then Israel pops off on the anniversary of us invading Afghanistan. It's just, And then people are making videos like, oh, everything Zach talks about is just stuff people already knows, and you don't need to know that information anyway. It's pretty much useless because, it's just obvious the game's rigged, right? It's like, well, to a lot of people, it's not obvious. And is that how you go up and say to people who are like at a Trump rally? Again, it's funny, the person who's making videos saying that kind of stuff, they're the same one who's been coming out and just standing around us quietly as we gather in cities That now they've flipped on us. And before they'd always make me say, man, you got to come out because it's the most beautiful energy and it's the realest thing. Now he's like, oh yeah, people are all weirdos and like Zach's crazy cult leaders. It's like, okay, that's now you're just lying to just say whatever. Just that's why these people, you guys, you're on your streams. Back in the day, he'd get inspired by my streams. He's like, Zach's right, man. These people got to go, man. Society's fucked up. It's like, dude, people like you got to go too. You're fucked up. Sorry, you're just trying to throw me out because I just asked you some simple questions. Remember, this guy's just so butthurt because all I asked him was, how come you never share with anybody your real name or at least even your first name? How come in the time I've known you, you've gone by 3 different names? I'm like, what's up with that? It's just like, is that a game? Like, if you knew somebody over the course of a couple of years and they went by 3 different names in that time, wouldn't you find that weird? So these things start to raise red flags. And then, the other thing I asked him is, you say you're like set for life. You got 3 houses in 3 states. You got all these luxury rides, and you just drive around all day with $5 a gallon gas. Most people are just like starving right now. Can you put people up on some game for how you achieved it, man? Because like you're illiterate. You said you can't read. You don't really know how to spell, but it's just like your life is a miracle. So can you share with people what you did to get where you are? And then he got all mad. I didn't say it like that to it. I mean, but it's true though. I mean, you ever seen his YouTube titles? It's like, well, he didn't go very far with his grammar. But and he brags about how he's never read a book. Like that's something to brag about. It's like, I don't know if that's a life accomplishment to have never read a book. He said, I don't need to read. I think you're an example of why people need to read. I think that's actually, but at the same time, if he's this multimillionaire with homes all over the place, all the time to travel, doesn't have to work, and just keep making video after video about how fructose isn't sugar, it's like, anyway, I got to call these things out because you guys, this is also part of the reason that I have not been pounding his pavement as much lately, because I'm just realizing there's a serious group of infiltrators and weird people and bad people and people who are up to no good. Again, on the last trip down to California, you guys who were watching saw what happened with apparently the Illuminati member flashing all the signs at me behind my back while I didn't realize it. And again, I've been telling these stories, but again, there is a group of wolves out here, and it's because we're exposing some serious shit. And again, it does seem that the way that kind of this Illuminati system is if you're not in the cabal, if you haven't signed any contracts with them, that it doesn't seem like they can really touch you. They can damage your property and mess with your life. But anyway, I never feel in fear of putting out this information, but I know it is deadly potent information that does have the power to destroy what's going on. And that's why I see that they send all the weirdos and harassers. The guy I'm talking about, he's streaming this morning, and he literally had the guy in his stream bragging about how he ripped me off at lunch years ago. I was just like, see, this is just weird. He's bragging about it all these years. I told you that story. The guy who begged me to come meet him 2 times when I was a super busy person. I was still running the business, keeping up with all this. And I just sat there for hours listening to him tell me his Christ story about how this woman did him wrong and bought him food and drink and listened to him. And the first time he needed me to come meet him, he was just in such a bad spot. He just said he needed somebody to be there for him because he was in such a bad spot. He said, can you come meet me at Seattle in this coffee shop? Well, I was in Bothell at the time, which is a 20-mile drive to Seattle. And he asked me to come meet him in the middle of rush hour, which is about an hour and a half drive. So I said, it's going to take me about an hour and a half to get there. He's like, I'm going to wait for you. I need you here right now. I was like, and I was busy back then too. I had to take time out of my day. I had to push all I was working until like 2 a.m. that night because I had to go drive out there through traffic to just do something nice for this guy. And then he ends up being a dude who I do nice things for. And he starts making videos about me online about how he knows I'm a Jewish massage shill. It's like, I got weirdos out here, man. I'm doing like nobody would even do that for a person they didn't really know. Just somebody who watched their work online, begging me to come out in the middle of rush hour when they know it's a long drive. I just look back and I'm like, these people have been fucking with me the whole time, man. God. He didn't want to hear me. Anytime I even try to say back, he just started talking. So I was like, okay, he said he just needs somebody to listen to. All right. You need another cup of coffee, man? I'll get you a cup of coffee. You want some bread? Okay. Second time he asked me to meet up with him, I never had anybody do it to me. He just kept ordering everything on the menu, racked up the hugest tab. It just kept ordering desserts, more drinks. I was just like, this is crazy. And then it was right after that he started making the videos attacking me. He's in the one guy's chat today bragging about ripping me off at lunch. I mean, it's just like, I'm sorry if you can't see the reason. And also, all you guys who get annoyed when I bring up this stuff, listen. All of you who don't appreciate what I'm sharing, you have to understand this is a form of venting. Again, people don't know how to put each other and put themselves in other people's shoes. Have you ever dedicated every day of your life for over a decade straight to pumping out knowledge? And for the majority of that time, you did it for no revenue. There was nothing to buy, nothing, to pledge to. There was just nothing, just doing it to try and change the world and get out meaningful knowledge, to wake people up to the game. Because the message hasn't changed. We've gotten better at proving it, but we've been doing the same thing every day with the same purpose, the same intention. Hardly any of the recognition the work deserves, but just endless abuse and harassment and weirdos and people trying to come in and trying to be nice and help out people, and then they flip on you. And I still give people the benefit of the doubt. The gentleman in Ireland who would call in for a while and was a great contributor, and I always support him and say, hey, check him out, man. This guy's the best in the world at calling golf. He started attacking me in recent months because of Itachi. And it's just like, this is crazy. Like, and I didn't ask for Itachi. Itachi is kind of weird. He condemns people for going to sports games, and then he's bragging about being at the sports game and having connections. And then he's talking about how bad the system is, but then he's playing like all the music of all the rappers that are connected to the sacrifice we're decoding. So again, I can't control the people trying to come around this community, but I start to see how it does seem like a game of just people just constantly trying to create distraction and bad vibrations and start beefs. And it's just like, can we just do the work? I mean, that's really all I want to do. But at the same time, the whole time I've been here, it's been all this weirdo stuff. And that's the only way I know how to explain it. Like doing really nice things for people and like being abused. But I wasn't even mean to the guy because I was like, okay, he did tell. I didn't elaborate on the guy who bought all the food and stuff, but he said that he felt at the time that he was like being gang stalked by, and he said it was all Jewish. He said like these Jews were trying to take advantage of him, and they wanted his genes and genetics and to procreate with him because he was a special goyim. He's telling this big long story, and I don't know if it's real or not. I mean, but I'm sitting there listening to him, and he's going on, and how his kid's been stolen from him, and trying to be supportive. And then he asked if, can you get me another tea or whatever? Can I get one of those muffins? Okay. But you do stuff like this for people and drive way out of your way and listen to them. And again, I was busy back then with the delivery business still. I had to like tell all my customers that I was off until this time, which they're not used to. I lost some sales that night, which is okay. I did fine. But then when I was done with him and had to drive all the way back to where I work, I was working that night and until the middle of the night to make up for the lost time with him. And, it's just like you look back and it's like I told you guys the story the other day. The one guy who came out here, got a hold of my number. He's threatening me through the text message, sending pictures of knives. And after I got him to chill out, I went out to meet him anyway. And like I said, he literally looked like one of the 7 dwarves. He was like 5'2" with a beard longer than he was. It really did look like it was 25% of his body weight. And he was sick as hell. And then he wanted me to drive him this long distance. And, I told this story, guys, about how he had the bag full of just like crinkled up money. And I was just like, and he left it in my car while he went and shopped in Best Buy for an hour on the way to this long destination. But he was telling me how what I didn't understand about the world is the satanic cabal is literally everywhere, fucking with people like he said, like us. He was saying him and I all the time. And he's like, Zach, you don't get it. They're everywhere, fucking with you all the time, watching you all the time. And I thought he was like paranoid and delusional. And that's still the way I do mostly think about it. But I just remember how much shit he was packing with him and how we had to keep trying to reload my car, which was a Toyota. It has a decent trunk, but he had so many things he's bringing with him. He had the world's biggest cooler. I remember how he gets a hotel on the 2nd floor or a motel. And he said he couldn't carry the cooler himself. So I had to lug this huge ass cooler upstairs after I drive this guy like 50 miles and take him on a shopping spree before that. And I'm hauling the 100-pound, like throwing my back out to get this cooler up the stairs. So I'm like, what the fuck's in this cooler? But I just look back at all this stuff now and I'm like, see, I really feel like it's been people purposely reaching out and messing with me and fucking with me. And in a way, it's my fault for just not ignoring them. But I am somebody who's always tried to help people come to you when they need help and convey one way or another that they actually need help, even if they started the conversation with threatening you with text message of a knife and you better do this or else. But Yeah, I'm starting to think like again, we know the Church of Satan's completely down with the 201 code. Anton LaVey did 201 days from his birthday, did 201 days from the Pope's birthday, and all the other parallels. And Anton LaVey, who also wrote books about this gematria code, and Donald Trump, who's highest or who's Mr. Mega. Look into the highest degree of the Satanic Church, you guys. It's Mega. MAGA is the highest degree of the Satanic Church. The first degree or tenet of Satanism is to fulfill yourself, your ego. Donald Trump, ultimate egomaniac. But yeah, I just look back at all now and I'm like, I feel like, yeah, and Mark Passio too. The only time Mark Passio, I've called Mark Passio's show 1,000 times. The only time he took my call was at the closing minutes of episode 201. And I must have been on hold for 30 episodes well before that. When I look back at that now, he's a priest in the Satanic Church. He's Jesuit educated. I feel like the day he took my call, he was trying to maybe give me a clue into something. And that was before I understood 201. But Mark Passio says the same thing, that he says that, trust me, I've been in the Church of Satan. All components of society, all the members running shit, they're all in this Church of Satan. At all levels, too. High levels and just like guys off the street, like a guy who I probably, he was probably telling me, having me do all this crazy stuff, threatening me, being a weirdo. And by the way, the reason the threats actually started, here's the real full story. He asked me to come meet him at the motel where I did eventually meet him. And because he got a hold of my number and he said he took a bus all the way from Memphis to where I was in Washington State. So I felt compelled that I better go meet him if he did that. And then I went there to meet him at the time he said to meet, and he didn't answer his motel door. And I waited there for like 20 minutes and texted him, and he didn't respond to the phone. So I went home. And then after I got home, he hit me up and said, "Where are you, man? I've been waiting for you." And I said, "No way." I said, "Unless you gave me the wrong hotel room number." And I said, "Look at your text. I was texting you." And then he started acting crazy, and then with the threats, and like I was bullshitting him, and I was like, okay, this is weird. But then I got him to calm down, and then I did meet him, and then he asked for the big request and the cooler thing. But in that time, he was so emphatic about how these Satanists are all around me, and I got to be aware. Now I'm just looking at all this stuff right now. Lil Willie painting his fingernails black to do the ultimate weirdo broadcast directed at me. You know what's funny is the guy I'm talking about, who knows? Maybe he's in the Church of Satan. Something's going on. Again, he just made a video, just more bullshit, just not 1 ounce truth in it. But the video's titled "How I'm the Biggest Gaslighter on the Internet." And while he's doing that, his auditing partner, who he introduced to me, is, posting about he's gaslighting. He's like, "Oh, at least I have a good relationship with my mom, and Jordan Maxwell likes me more." It's like, okay, that's what literally gaslighting is. That's what little kids do. I don't do shit like this. But these guys are friends, and these two things are going on at the same time. Okay. Sorry, I got to rant for a minute because I just get annoyed that, despite how awesome the work's been, and despite the fact that there should be millions of people sharing this and knowing about this and acknowledging this and helping stop this, you don't have that. But you have, like, again, the most dedicated people in my life are the people who are always trying to tear me down and trash me. And to get back on point, I forgot to make the point here about Helios. I screwed up. I got onto it with Helios, a 68-like planet. And Helios is the sun, and the root word of heliocentrism. Look at Donald Trump's full name. It's Donald John Trump, which is 68, right? And as we talked about so many times, the Club of Rome was made in 68, this infamous year. Catholicism, 68. Mathematics is 68. Solar system is 68. The solar system, the heliocentric model. The sun's at the center of it all. Calendar, language, math, all synced up. Chosen actors for the world stage, chosen stars, larger than life people like Donald Trump, used for the agenda to get people to take sides because they need everyone divided, fighting amongst themselves. Again, at some point, though, like people say, "Well, Zach, you're creating a lot of division by..." No, you guys who say that, I don't think you understand the point of language. I'm exposing evil shit that is preventing the world from moving forward. I'm being fucked with by that evil shit. I've been putting up with it for a decade. All you guys are like, "Zach, you already told that story a long time ago." Well, does it not matter today that I put up with all of this for a decade and I'm still here and I'm still getting harassed by weirdos? How many of you guys have been sitting by the whole time and never helped out with anything? You just sit here and watch the whole time and leave comments when you get annoyed. It's like the only feedback I get from you. "Oh, you've been out there the whole time. I didn't know." "I can't watch anymore because you rant too much about the same shit." Okay, then peace out. It's all part of who I am. I have to filter out all the annoyance, and this is the way I do it. Some people pay a therapist to go sit in a chair and get told by someone they think is smarter. To me, it's just I'm going to filter out what's on my mind and what's annoying me, and hope I plant some seeds and help people see the forest for the trees. Like all the morons in the world that think I'm a shill because they heard from some nameless, faceless person that only shows their screen and never their face, never tells you their name, that Zachary K. Hubbard's a bad person. Sadly, if you go survey the world, most people know my name through those kind of channels who worked real hard to slander me and never acknowledged the work while they poison their audience, which is truly that's the funny thing about the network. They say that everybody knows my stuff. What the network does is just literally recycle the stuff that everybody knows. Rothschilds, Freemasonry, Rothschilds, Freemasonry, Zionist, bankers. Hello, I just summed up the whole truth community. It's as deep as it gets. Oh, I don't need to know Zach's stuff. Oh, Zach's on the wrong thing anyway. It doesn't have anything to do with the Jesuits. Oh, yeah, the same one that the founders wrote about. They were worried about what would happen when they came out of suppression. Yeah. Sorry. It's you guys who don't know anything about anything and can't see the obvious as we prove our point in spades day after day. And people get mad. Oh, Zach's so arrogant. Actually, it's, yeah, maybe a little bit, but what it really is Zach's right. Zach's proven his point again. Zach was just talking about 48 yesterday in the Illuminati in a big way with the ritual of Robert Luna and his suicides. 48 weeks after he took office when his name equals 48, like how the Lunar New Year Festival was on his 48th day of being in office. We went on a big thing just again yesterday about 48 in the Illuminati. And 223 was that as well. 223, the 48th prime. Again, she's dead on her 223rd day of her age. That 223 has more meaning than just the 48th prime. Connects to the synagogue of Satan. Connects to Freemasonry. Again, Robert Trump died on the Jesuit order's birthday, 38 months earlier. The death, murder, killing RIP number. From his wife's death to his sister's death is 487 days, the 93rd prime. Remember, Order of Illuminati is 93. The sun, the Helios, illuminates the world 93 million miles away on average. But 93:48, the ritual is clear. Remember what happened on the 487th birthday of the Jesuits the other year? August 15th, 2021, the 487th birthday of the Jesuits, the plus 93 international dialing code, their government collapsed on that day after we abandoned Afghanistan and the nice big Jesuit ritual. Then on the Jesuit order's birthday, the government collapses. And of course, we went into 9/11 in a very Catholic Jesuit Templar ritual. Same number code, 93 World Trade Center bombing. All this stuff's been connected the whole time. Aleister Crowley, the British occultist who wrote a lot of books about gematria, who worship 93. Again, it's the Illuminati, you guys. The sun, 93 million miles away. The dark sun, Saturn with the 93 gematria connection. But yeah, just same number patterns, same rituals. We were talking about this day Afghanistan's government collapsed. 2 towers became 0 before it became 1 World Trade Center. Again, the Twin Towers became 0 before it became 1. What's the Jesuit motto at Georgetown? If you don't know it, look it up. Look up Jesuit Georgetown's motto in light of 2 towers became 0 before they became 1. The motto is both into one. Both into one. Don't forget, new information this week, actually, thanks to one of the trolls. He was surprised I didn't know something that was on the Wikipedia page for Gematria, and that's because it didn't used to be on there the last time I looked at it. But there's now an updated section of the Gematria Wikipedia post about an Italian who's responsible for the Renaissance, who brought Gematria into the English language from Hebrew. And again, he's Italian, just like how the oldest tarot deck goes back to Italy. And tarot's way older than Italy, but the oldest known deck goes back to Italy. All this knowledge brought back after the Templars, all synced up in the calendar and the language with the model, all synced up with time and how we tell time and how the objects in the sky are. The objects in the sky, the stars, the people we call stars, the same numbers being encoded in the rituals. They're in the secret societies that harness the knowledge In Hebrew, 201 relates to light. Light is knowledge to the occult. These people snicker at us. I mean, for the clowns, for the people who are attacking me right now, it's what's sad to see. It's like they've been around, just pretending to be around for a couple of years now, and never once did they like dedicate any time or energy into actually sharing the work. They'll come stand around and do nothing when we go out and pound payment and film people who are there, like feds. But never once did they do anything while they were there or online to ever help the work. But they've both dedicated so much time ever since the Israel thing popped off. And that's when they both flipped, right? When the Israel thing popped off, just started attacking like crazy. And remember, we called the Israel thing the day Netanyahu came back in the 12/29/201 ritual after departing office in Israel 201 land on the day leaving 201 days left in the year. Came back on Albert Pike's birthday. Wrote the letter about 3 world wars. Now the third one will be between political Zionism and Islam. And what day was what day was Albert Pike's letter published about 3 world wars? It was published on August 15th, the Jesuit order's birthday. We all know what they did with January 6th, 201 days after the Albert Pike statue came down. Again, his birthday is 12/29, where 12/29 is the 201st prime. Hello. We gathered in Oklahoma City. That's the thing to say about these 2 guys who are super harassing right now. They became part of the community when we gathered in Oklahoma City, April 19, 2022. They weren't really involved with anything we were doing until that day. They drove out there to be a part of that. And remember, when I got there, the police were ready for me. They wouldn't let me on the bombing site. And then it was the first year ever they moved the memorial for April 19th from outside where it had always been to inside the church down the street. And they had a whole line of police in front. And when we got there, one of them came out dressed and said that this line was here waiting for us to show up because our community was not allowed to be at the memorial. And, I said, I feel like that's really wrong. There was a man over on the corner. I said, like, him over there with the Terrence Yankee, the police officer who was found like beaten and tortured to death, and they said it was a suicide, and he had questions about what really happened that day. There's a man, I said, people deserve answers. And anyway, I just remember everything has gone wrong for me ever since I went down and did that again, Timothy McVeigh's 201, Terry Lynn Nichols' 201. It was April 19th, you guys, is the day in history that the American Revolutionary War began. It's the day that Ignatius of Loyola became the first superior general of the Jesuits. See how Ignatius of Loyola is 201? Timothy McVeigh is 177 and 201, just like the Jesuit order. And those numbers come together a lot. We talked about that again yesterday. Again, 1,000 examples. Catherine the Great's husband died on 17/7. She preserved the Jesuit order with 201 Jesuit priests. The Queen knighted Captain Tom on 17/7. Captain Tom died from COVID 201 days later. Klaus Schwab equals 177. Main host of event 201. And so on and so forth. And don't forget, you guys, Captain Tom was known for the Burma campaign, which is what Orwell's first book's about. And he died the day before Burma's government fell to its military. And then we looked and we saw that the makeshift government was set up in history on the anniversary of the Jesuits being recognized by the Roman Catholic Church. I said, oh, what are the odds of that? What are the odds of that? But, yeah, just to revisit things we talked about. Again, 2016 election that Trump won after announcing from the 58-story Trump Tower. 58th quadrennial election. Prince, dead in his 58th year of life after the 58th Grammys, which was the day his girlfriend Vanity died, which was the anniversary of his mother's death. And then Trump wins the 58th election with all the purple connections, as Bill and Hillary concede him purple, and Prince was Mr. Purple Rain, which equals 58 in Gematria. And now, again, how that Purple Rain was recorded in 83. Came out in 84, but it was recorded in 83. I Would Die For You was written in 83, the same year that Trump's sister, who he's pictured in purple with, took federal office 40 years ago by number 40. Yeah, again, I just started looking at all the articles. Look how purple everything is. Which reminds me of what we've been talking about for a while. And again, Prince died 201 days before the 2016 election. For Trump to be inaugurated on the 201st day of the year, 20/1, again and again. But Prince died on the Queen's birthday. I Would Die For You, his song, number 4, letter U, dead in the 4th month on the 21st day when U is the 21st letter. 33 years after recording that song. We know the ritual they just did with the 33-year-old football player in Houston, synced up with DJ Screw, who also died by the code, you know. And then the Queen dies 201 days after a COVID diagnosis. I mean, you just can't make it up. And now all this purple the day before Prince Charles' 75th birthday, you know. 75, another big boss number. His last day, let's not forget, it is Charles' last day of being 74. Killing is 74, like Gematria. Again, the song Gematria, the killing name. English is 74. Occult is 74. Energy 74. London 74. Masonic. Again, the list goes on. Stabbing 74. The 74th day of the year. Remember the stabbing of Caesar? Again, killing 74, like Holiday. 3 of the first 5 presidents dead on 7-4. But today is the last day of King Charles being 74. And don't forget, there were a number of deaths connected to King Charles this year. It just wasn't the college ones that were announced the day of his birthday. It was the woman drowning story. It was a number of other things that I can't remember everything we covered, but I know we brought up some death rituals with 74 multiple times throughout the year with King Charles, if you go back and look for them. 74 is another big one. Event 201 was on the day leaving 74 days left in the year, October 18th, 1018, like how Satan comes to earth in Luke 10:18. The fallen angel, also like Lucifer, the Masonic way the name's referred to, where Lucifer's 74. The Holy Bible's 201. Again, the first COVID simulation, Cladex, 2 years to the day of Trump's Operation Warp Speed, May 15, 2018, 666 days before the pandemic was declared. Donald Trump in office while the biblical rituals are going down, where the Holy Bible's 201, Holy Bible's also 45. Like IHS, the Jesuit acronym. Like this woman's birthday, April 5th. Like Ivana dead 45 years after their marriage. Again, I know I'm saying things over and over again, but maybe that way it'll finally sink in for the people who only watch the first video and give up after one. Now you give up on this knowledge. It's like, I just, I think about all the people in the world that could have helped get this knowledge. I remember it was like 2016 that Joe Rogan had Suzanne Barr on, and Joe Rogan asked Suzanne Barr, he's like, have you heard about this thing Gematria with like letters and numbers and words having values? Roseanne Barr was like, I forget what she said. Like, oh yeah, and then got off into something else. She's Jewish herself. But it's just like, come on, man. You know he saw, and in 2016 he probably watched the Prince video. People think Joe Rogan's the truth. If Joe Rogan was the truth, he would have been full board on Gematria since 2016, like when everybody else jumped on board. So remember, Donald Trump was a career Democrat, but then when he got into federal office, he was Republican, like his elder sister who held federal office. Isn't it amazing how connected his family is? And then like his uncle did the investigation of Tesla's apartment where he died. And then Elon Musk and Donald Trump keep doing all the perfect Jesuit puppet rituals. Elon Musk did that post about a year back about the importance of population control, and he highlighted a spot on the graph to where he thought the births were right at 2.01 births per household. I was like, oh my God, look at how these guys just show how they're in the club. Because you know how when you drag your like cursor over a timeline on some spots, it'll give you like, oh, at this higher point, it's 3. Down here, it's 2.8. Here's 2.7. Here, it's 2.01. He had his cursor on there, so that's what was highlighted as he does the post about population control. And don't forget who Mr. Eugenics is. Don't forget who it is. The same guy who was the main co-sponsor of Event 201. That's Bill Gates' full name, if you didn't know. William Henry Gates 201. Don't forget his father died on the 258th day of the year. Square root of 666 is 25.8. Number of the beast also have that 258. How they did that with the jam. 666 days after the first simulation that he was also a part of. Ooh, man. People watch these videos like, man, what Zach showing doesn't mean nothing. We already knew the world was rigged, man. So we just talk about fructose not being sugar. See, that's the problem. You got a society of people who don't realize how dumb they are. Like they think what they're saying. They're like, that's just as dope information as what Zach's showing. Like fructose ain't sugar, man. Trust me, I researched it. It's more important to know than gematria. Oh man. All right. Shout out to HD's quality. Slowly seeing more people with the Freemason emblem on back of their cars. I guarantee you, HD's quality. That's consciousness. You're just noticing it more because you're aware of it. Those Freemason logos on license plates, they've been omnipresent everywhere for a long time. If it's just, trust me, when you wake up to things, you feel like they're happening way more than they really are. It's been going on. You come up to Washington State, man. There's people with Masonic emblems. It feels like if I drive down the freeway, well, especially when I'm actually thinking back, like when I used to live in Seattle in a dense city, there'd be a lot of people that would have that on their license plate. So I'd say at least 1 out of 100 cars has that on their license plate. There's because some people might not even be Freemasons and they have that on their plate, because sometimes you'll see like the Masons in your community. When I lived in Bothell, which was a town that had a Masonic lodge, and by the way, Bothell also equals 74 like Masonic. It's a weird place just north of Seattle. And remember, the police wanted, I got threatened by the police there. He said, maybe you should just move out of town. And we didn't move because of that. We moved eventually years later after Sweet Lady got accepted into school in a place in the state that was a 2.5-hour drive away. So, but yeah, again, these stories I can tell for days from doing this work. Yeah, I remember when the officer told me that maybe I should just move out of town. Hey, thanks for protecting my interests since I'm being harassed here as a taxpayer. But again, I was spending all my time exposing police and masonry, so I wouldn't expect anything less. I understood where it was coming from. You kick the hornet's nest, you might get stung. And people got to adapt that mentality. This hornet's nest needs to get kicked. It needs to get kicked by a lot of people, so not just one person gets stung to death. Imagine this massive hornet's nest that's got the whole town so scared that they don't go outside. The men in that town, if like the only solution was, listen, we got to go out there as a team and wreck that hornet's nest and blow them out of here and figure out how to distribute the wounds so that we can survive and get back to our families. You couldn't just send out one man in the town to do it. It would take all the men in the town. And this is like obviously kind of like a children's cartoon situation, but it's just to paint a picture. That's exactly what it is in this world. When there's just one person like really bombing on the Jesuit cabal Illuminati every day online, like sadly, that's really almost how it's been for the last decade, because you can look at what the rest of most people have been doing. It ain't been shit. But thank you to all the people who do this work now, because now there is more than just me. But I'm saying, and the time I've been here, people say it's arrogant. But again, go back and see through everything uploaded to the tube and the internet in the last decade plus and tell me what was hitting harder than this with more proof and evidence day after day. Whatever was it? Because I don't know what it is. And I don't think anyone does. That's why all my trolls, they'll never answer that question. They'll just clip me saying something like, look how arrogant he is. What a dumbass to say something like that. And then nothing else. Like, okay. You can attack and call names and say it's so arrogant, but you ain't got nothing. You can't answer the question because your answer is going to be futile. I'm not saying other people haven't done important things. It's just, this is the crack. This is the code cracked. This is the spells and the spelling. This is the ritual day after day. This is the murder cabal. This is what's ruling over us, lying to us every single day, trying to fill your head with fear that doesn't need to be there. And I hate people say I'm a fearmonger. I am not a fearmonger. I've helped a lot of people stay out of needless fear. Like the whole cooties pandemic. We weren't tripping over here, and I was leading by example every day, doing live streams, going into Costco without a mask, and showing them how to talk to the people. Like, hey, I signed a contract to shop here, and it didn't say nothing about wearing some slave muscle. Some little worthless mask that doesn't block jack shit. And I'm going in to shop. And then I did. And I did until the day they sent me a letter in the mail and said my membership had been revoked. But I didn't feel bad about that because I was like, I shouldn't be supporting this store. This store is part of this. If you guys didn't notice that with Cooties, it started in, hey, remember how I said 68 and 94? They're big numbers in Seattle, just for the record, where the whole Cooties began outside of China. Remember, first case in the world in Bill Gates' backyard with the big needle. 68, 94, coronavirus coined in 68, coronavirus pandemic 94, Bill and Melinda married on the first day in 94 in a super 94 ritual, then RIP to Kurt Cobain 94 days later. Kurt Cobain died 206 days before Bill Gates' birthday. That's the Seattle area code in the word sacrifice in Jewish gematria, but Been a fateful day for Seattle musicians, April 5th, which is also this woman's birthday. They RFK got in the race. Anyway, I think I got enough points out there. But yeah, here we go. Just this right here. This is what it looks like. You got Yeah Right and Fake Mike are auditing partners. They do auditing assignments together, and that's why they came out to Oklahoma City. And then they've been hanging around the community and not doing anything for it, and seemingly actually doing like passive aggressive videos, almost like trying to throw shade on it. Because like Fake Mike Osman is like, what do you think about people like saying like it's the Jesuits that have anything to do with the economy of the world? And then the guest will downplay it and he'll be like, and then his next year will be like, Jesuits. It's like, yeah, the ones the founders were worried about, the ones that Lincoln blamed the Civil War for, the ones that are simulating pandemics before they're happening. Yeah, I think they're pretty important, especially when we figured out their code and going down each day. And again, like Fake Mike's all about serial killers in the Fed. How about all the serial killings with 201? Here we are on the anniversary of University of Idaho. They had to say that serial killer lived in apartment 201. The guy who killed Bob Lee, Mr. Digital Currency, they had to show that he lived in apartment 201. And then FedNow, the whole digital currency system, launched on the 201st day of the year after that ritual with Bob Lee. How could you not share that? You say you're about exposing Illuminati, which is 201. Order of Illuminati 201. Adam Weishaupt dead 201 days after anniversary of his establishment. A Jesuit. You're about exposing Illuminati, the Fed, serial killers. Jeffrey Epstein, born on the 201st day of the nation's age, 20/1. Recently, a mainstream headline, one of his associates, bodies found, and they had to tell you it was at address 201. This guy hasn't shared any of that, but he'll keep talking about Epstein, how connected he is to the Clintons, but he doesn't bring up that Clinton's Jesuit educated. And he doesn't bring up the 201 ritual that he went down to Oklahoma City for that's connected to Clinton, Jesuit educated, and Keating, the Jesuit governor of Oklahoma at the time, or Joe Biden. You guys, Joe Biden that year, the year of the Oklahoma City bombing and the massive 201 ritual, Joe Biden that year on the Oklahoma governor's birthday introduced the nation's first counterterrorism legislation, 201, and he did it exactly 68 days before Oklahoma City blew up. I mean, come on. Biden wasn't in federal office yet in 62, but he was on his way up on the political scale. He entered federal office in the 72 election 4 years later. These are the puppets on the stage. They all have Jesuit educations. They're all part of these massive long list of 201 rituals and ritual sacrifice. I mean, again, it is amazing to me. Like, again, the trolls I'm calling out right now. This guy right here who leaves these comments, again, this is the auditing partner. While he's leaving these comments, his partner is making a video about how I'm a gaslighter. The definition of a gaslighter is somebody who says things to essentially provoke somebody. And have I done that to people? Yeah. So I guess I could say at times I've gaslit people. But have I ever done that unprovoked? The answer to that question is no. I'll throw some. And the thing is, the things I throw back that'll provoke, they're also based in something. Like people think it's mean that I picked on Derek and his sexuality. But the reason I did that is because Derek trashed me for no reason after I built him all up and I hooked him up with a beautiful woman. Literally, that's part of the story. And I know an embarrassing part of the story, which I kept private for a long time. And maybe I should have kept private. Maybe it was low and immature to bring it up, but it might be low and immature to bring it up again. But I'm still going to bring it up because it's facts and it makes a point. He was with a beautiful woman. I mean, smoke show. Probably had it happened, it would have been, like the one he never forgets, the prettiest girl he was ever with. And it happened because she was so desperate for a man who understood gematria. And she was sending me all kinds of stuff that I asked her to stop sending because I've always been with Sweet Lady and I've always been loyal to Sweet Lady. And it'll always be that way as long as it's Sweet Lady and I. But I got her set up with Derek because Derek around that time started to have a channel. And I was like, he's into it. And he's single right now. He just went through a breakup from what I understand. He's looking for somebody too. And I was actually amazed but anyway, that they had the moment. It's just poor guy couldn't get up for it. You know what I mean? And then it got embarrassing and then it got awkward and then it all fell apart because of that. And then I learned some other details, which I won't say this time, but Yeah, the only reason that like people will say that's gaslighting to do that to Derek. Well, you know what? Derek fucked with me for no reason when all I did was spend a lot of my free time teaching him, building up his channel, promoting him, and then to attack me and say that my work's shallow out of nowhere and then question my character because some literally a gang of these stalker weirdos that had fucked with me were now teamed up with him. So again, probably maybe should have took the higher road in a lot of cases, but at the same time, it's like I don't know. I don't t- what's the phrase? Don't start no shit, there won't be no shit. And the thing is, all these people got a shit. They can't attack on anything legitimate. These comments right here. You're just jealous Jordan Maxwell wanted to work with me and not you. I am annoyed about that. I am annoyed that he did an interview with Jordan Maxwell and Jordan Maxwell ignored me for 3 years before he passed. I was on, I filled it out multiple times. The Jordan Maxwell interview thing, I wanted to do it so bad. It annoys me. I look back at that, I'm like, man, how did fake Mike, who has no following, had never had any articles written about him, how's he get the interview? How's Jordan Maxwell ignore me all these times? How many times I got to submit this thing and get ignored? So again, to be honest, I might be a little bit jealous about that too, but I'm not hating for that. I'm just being real about that. It does bother me that Jordan Maxwell and I never collaborated. That probably would have been one of the greatest live streams for the world. Again, an interview with you and him is great. Any interview with Jordan Maxwell is good, but you don't have anything to add to the conversation. I would have asked Jordan Maxwell questions he's never been asked before. You know, we might have got him talking about things that he'd been saying that he had to keep back. He acknowledged that he had to keep things back because he'd been threatened. That's what Jordan Maxwell said. I've been threatened a lot too. I haven't held shit back. I kept fighting. There might be consequences from that someday. I don't know. You know, I got weirdos harassing me. That's a consequence in the interim I can deal with. And again, these guys aren't accountable. They did 12 hours of live streams over a weekend, making it all about Sweet Lady and getting into personal life stuff. And then the very next day, she's getting harassed at work. And they're like, well, we didn't have anything to do with that. You're just making shit up. It's like, well, maybe you didn't or maybe you did. But your 12 hours of streams bringing her up and what she does and all that, which you only know because I've shared these stories for reasons of things we go through in this world and the difficult things and the divisions that become between us. Again, I hate how people weaponize information. Everything I ever shared, it was to be honest or transparent or to use myself as like, see, I'm guilty of it too. But yeah, again, weirdos like this, they bring all that stuff up, put it out there for strangers, and they're like, we didn't have anything to do with her getting called the next day and getting threatened at work, and somebody would pretend to be this and say this about you. Again, people got a hold of Sweet Lady's work somehow and called her up and pretended to be the feds and said that they needed to know my whereabouts that exact time because they were coming to arrest me. And she was all freaked out for a minute. You know, she started blowing me up with text messages. And I said, it's the trolls. Trust me. That's not the way the feds would handle it. The feds would be here at the house. So, but yeah, I mean, these people are, I mean, these are creepers, you guys. And again, the reason I have to deal with creepers and weirdos and people fucking with my house and all this shit is because this information that I put out, you can't find anything that was ever put out in the history of the truth community that's comparable. You can't. That's a true statement. You can't find anything that connects more dots every day and shows exactly what's going on back through history. His partner, who's making the video, being the gaslighter, in the video, it says that we've never predicted anything. It's like, dude, you watched the video on October 4th where we predicted the 9/11 type terrorist attack ritual that looked like it was coming, and as soon as October 7th, the day that was clearly in focus, and that's just something very recent. You know, you watched the Rangers World Series sink with Bushland, something we called on day one of the season, March 30th. 119th World Series ends on Bush's 119th day of his age when he threw out the first pitch. And we showed on day one how their opening game for the Rangers over the Phillies 267 days after Bush's birthday was a tribute to the 267 area code Philadelphia, who was in the World Series last year, as we do year after year. But yeah, it's just sad that people hang around and will lie and distort, and they'll just say anything, no matter how false and disingenuous it is. But to continue his comment, the thing about Jordan Maxwell, I mean, if there's any statement there that's true, but it's still gaslighting. But it's not a big deal either. That's not the problem is. You're just jealous. I have a great relationship with my mom. Again, by Will's own admission, he was recently kicked. He's in his 40s and he's lived at home his whole life, and he was recently kicked out, and he's found a place to live on his own. So congrats to Will. Post 40, out of the nest. Good for you. Maybe you'll find a lady next. But yeah, maybe I don't know that you have a better relationship with your mom. Well, actually, if you could live with your mom, you probably do. I'm not jealous of that though. I wish my relationship was better with my mom. But you know what? I help my mom out. I've been a help to my mom. I haven't been living off her. How old's your mom? You're still leeching off your mom? I've been helping my mom out for a long time. I help her with bills and stuff. I've been doing that for a long time. Not living off her. I do wish we had a better relationship. It's impossible though. I'll tell you what, the reason it's impossible. The other day I sent my mom a text message, one nice sentence and a picture of something that was really cool. But there was something in the picture because I was showing her something that was far away in the background. I pointed out, I said, look at that in the background. And she saw something in the foreground, which isn't what I'm taking in the picture. And then somehow she thought this problem in the picture was my problem. Like, and long, just paragraphs. Just I wasn't looking at my phone time, but I saw there were just paragraphs of responses to the text message about just all this drama about something. And I was like, and that's just how it is with my mom. It's like all I wanted you to text back is, "Oh, that is cool." It was about the thing in the background that is cool, and nothing about that. Just all this drama, and then somehow it became a problem that she thought was my problem. I'm just like, how does her mind even do this? You guys, there's a reason I am the way I am, and it's from having a mother like mine. That my mom, there's something in her brain that's not right. Everything in the world, everything she sees is a problem. Everything is a straight A report card is a problem. Working hard on a paper route every day and making money for the family is a problem. Bringing home the first, everything is a problem with my mom. It's never like good job, great. It's like, well, it's just like, can you just say good job for once in your life? When I was in my early 20s, there was an article in Seattle where I was living, and I saved it from the newspaper. I saw it, and the reason I saved it is just because when I read, I was like, God, man, I wish I had this guy's mom. The article was about how his success in life was because he had a mom that was constantly positive, and when things went down, she always gave him the right perspective and how to battle on, carry on, how it was going to work out. And I was just like, man, I can't imagine what that would be like. So I have the exact opposite. And I remember my mom for over 20 years, she'll call me up and be like, what do you want for your birthday? What do you want for Christmas? I always say the same thing. I say, Mom, I don't want anything. Save your money. I don't need anything this year. I got all I need in the world. Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day. Get yourself something. And she'll be like, no, I got to buy you something. That's the way she feels, that she has to buy you something. And anytime, I didn't want to go down that road. But anyway, one year, instead of saying I didn't want anything, I said, okay, here, I found what I want. I said, I'm going to read you this article, and I just want you to think about it. And I kind of want you to be more like this mom. And then when I got done, she's like, oh, whatever, Zach. I mean, like, that's not who I am. I was just like, yeah, okay. Okay, you can't be nice and positive and encouraging. It's just every time I pick up the phone, it's got to be negativity. And if I tell you anything about my life, just to like share it, you got to turn it into something even worse. I mean, when people look, some of you guys, I tell my mom, you're like, I don't think it's right. Your guys' whole thing, you guys have beliefs that don't make sense. A lot of you. You believe in things that you actually haven't thought about. I agree. We should be respectful to our elders and authority, but like also respect is something that has to be earned. And when you're just almost nothing but a torture to somebody's life every day, if you're the parent, that's hard to respect, especially when you've for years tried to fix it and that person makes zero effort to improve. And everything's always, it's like there's no accountability. So again, because I've shared these things, you got guys like this leaving comments like that are trying to gaslight. But again, I'll bring up why this is the case. And the reason I talk about these things is for other people who can relate. Younger people watch my videos. Maybe you got a parent like that and you feel guilty because sometimes you're cussing back at your parents. Again, it's better to not cuss back and fight. But if you are blowing up at your parents and feeling bad about it because they're doing crazy shit to you, I mean, there's a reason it's happening. You're human beings. And yeah, I mean, the only person in this world that really makes me scream at them, like death scream, the only person in the world who can get me so mad is my mom because she just drives me nuts. I try to call my mom up, tell her something nice. She's already got me driven. She picks up the phone, doesn't even say hello, just starts blabbing on about all the things wrong in her life. And then maybe a half hour in, it's the same way every time. I'll try to like cut in and say something. And she'll let me get in like 5 words. And then she'll sort of start talking over me again, and she's like literally telling the same story that she already started the conversation with. And it's like, man, I just want to call her up and remind her that, hey, Mother's Day is coming up and say something nice. And hey, what are you doing for Mother's Day? But then because of the way the phone call just went, I don't even see her on Mother's Day. I don't even want to see her. I mean, that's how my life is with my mom. I want to pick up the phone and her go, "Hi, Zach, how you doing?" And I go, "Oh, hey, great, Mom. I was thinking about coming down to Portland for Mother's Day, but the conversation never got there because before I picked up, it was, oh, you wouldn't believe what just happened to me yesterday, and then this person would, and it's just going on forever and ever and ever. And I'm just like, God, I mean, time's going by. I got shit to do. I was planning on doing the sports live stream. I just want to call her real quick. It can't happen. It's impossible. It's like, what is this? It's like a bad dream every time. So yeah, imagine having that for your mother. And I know somebody's like, but she calls into TFR and presents well. Yeah, that's the thing that scares me the most. That's the thing that worries me the most about my mother. It's like, why can't she do that in our own conversation? She knows when she has an audience, she acts a different way. That reminds me of little kid behavior. And again, if you ever meet my mom and all of her siblings, they are all like little kids. And they all hate each other and fight. Have you ever seen your mom get in a fist fight with her sister on Christmas? Because I have. I saw the furniture get broken and everything, and then us never get invited to Christmas with the family again. That's my life story. So anyway, yeah, I do wish I had a better relationship with my mom, but that's not my problem with you. My problem with you is that, again, I promote you and help the work, and you can't ever say anything nice, and it seems like you're always trying to undermine the video. That's my real problem. My problems in life, yeah, you're bringing up problems in my life to gaslight. I just want to make the point that I'm getting gaslit here. But yeah, again, these are the frustrations in my life. And you know what? I've never let any of them be excuses to keep me from succeeding in the world. I've heard you do a stream about living with your mom and fighting and getting kicked out and how shitty your life is and how you're trying to sell this little basement snack thing like your buddy Brian and didn't work out for you and it's just mopey. And again, I mean, sorry, dude. I mean, where I come from, the kind of stuff you portray as a loser, a poser, a wannabe, a phony, a fake. And yeah, I can deal with all my mom shit and vent about that and still get out knowledge to the world that can change the fucking world. See, we live in a world, though, where people need everybody to be in a suit and looking a certain way and talking a certain way, pretending to be something they aren't. So people watch the news where they lie to them every night in a nice tone and a nice suit with a nice hairdo. But then his last line is, "You're jealous because I actually do things and you sit behind a calculator calling for violence." Hey, can you guys think of an example of me calling for violence, or is it more like what I wrote back to him? I said, "Can you show him some videos where I call for violence?" My line is revolution or bust, which I've always said, and I've always made the point that when there are enough people down for the cause, the revolution, a successful revolution will likely take violence. So you cannot take violence out of your toolbox of potential options of overcoming this cabal, the same cabal that was ruling over Europe that the founders fought against. Again, this guy worships the founders and then says, violence in no form is an option. It's like, okay, but the people you worship use violence to get free from the, tyrannical oppressive threat. So your position actually in the world doesn't make any sense. Mine actually does. So I'm definitely not jealous of that. See? But yeah, again, it's just, that's the thing about my mom too. My mom's a person who takes information and weaponizes it. You share with her something that you would never think would get weaponized, and then she weaponizes it against you. And that's why, I've been telling you about just the weird stuff happening in the world with her and Sweet Lady and how I try to fix the rift, but I can't because too much damage has been done. Just my mom attacks Sweet Lady and makes crazy assumptions. One time my mom got mad at Sweet Lady. Sweet Lady, like, this isn't even bad. Yeah. Here's how Sweet Lady is. She's only been with one other guy in her life, and it was just barely. And I met her when she was in her 20s. Average American woman in her 20s has probably been with at least 10 guys. My mom was probably with 10 guys before she even got out of her junior year of high school. That's why she got pregnant in high school. But one time my mom got mad at Sweet Lady for no reason, and then said she's probably some Asian prostitute over here just to steal my son away from her. And I was just like, oh my God, Mom. She's like the furthest thing from that. God. But just nothing. So yeah, there's a reason that I make the points that I make about my mom. Not accountable, hates on everybody, causes nonstop trauma every day. I wish she wasn't that way, but she is still my mom, and that's why I still take care of her. And I call her out too because I always hope that someday she'll actually listen to me and realize I'm right. I know I'm not tripping. Bad people in the world in all kinds of ways, but again, the ones that matter the most are the ones like my mom, for the most part, isn't having any influence on anyone's lives outside of the people she crosses paths with each day. And most of those interactions are not good. So she is having an impact on the world. But it's like you can focus on a person like her or me. We're having such a minuscule impact on the world. And I wish I was having a lot bigger impact. The knowledge I put out deserves to have the impact. That's the point of my channel. Not about drama and even my own life, but I do share to remind people that I'm a human being. And again, it's just the way it is living in this world. And again, you want to know who a person is now they came to be the way they are. Again, imagine being tormented by your family member your whole life. You're supposed to have a loving, nurturing mother. Isn't that like the characteristics of a mom? Those are not words that exist in my mom's vocabulary. You know? But yeah. They're the types of things that made me ask what's wrong with this world and look for the answers to figure out what's going on. I used to wonder if my mom was under a spell. I think she is, man. You know, when you listen to those, I used to think those Christian kooks talking about how Elvis put the devil in everybody. Maybe he did, because all of my mom's sisters, man, they're all about Elvis. My sister's about Elvis. Elvis, by the way, recorded for Sun Records, Jesuit-run record studio. His daughter just died in that huge Jesuit ritual right after the award ceremony. Dead at 54, like Jesuit order. Like Prince dead 54 days from Trump's birthday. Like all the other ones. Got the first Jesuit university founded by John Carroll when he was 54. But Lisa Marie Presley, dead at 54 on the 54 date numerology right after the award ceremony. Golden Globes equals 54. And remember what a Golden Globe is. It's the sun. In alchemy, the sun is gold. The moon is silver. So Golden Globes, think about it. Spherical gold, sun worship, awards for stars. Golden Globes 54, like sun. Lisa Marie Presley dead right after the Golden Globes on the 54 date numerology at age 54. Hey, watch my video from when she got hospitalized earlier in that day. Our video was about why she was likely going to be pronounced dead later that day and how this was the latest award ceremony ritual. And then sure enough, that's what was the headline probably 3 hours later, that she had passed. I said, see? Another award ceremony. Elvis's first concert. Elvis's first concert was in 54. He recorded for Sun Record Studios. People will say, Zach's one-dimensional. It's like, are you serious? I'm one-dimensional. I know about a lot of things. I got good knowledge of history, entertainment. I don't know everything. Politics. I know a lot of different things. Royal family, Catholic Church, Bible. Yeah, it's not one-dimensional. Being able to put it all together, I'm on another dimension. Again, I got clowns making videos trying to talk shit, and then they get their argument destroyed, and they just jump to a new one like they didn't just get their ass handed to them. I guess that's what you got to do when you're on payroll, and Paymaster says, put out another video. Just keep going. Keep tormenting him. See if we can waste more of his time and energy. That's what you got to do as a slave to somebody. You got to get up and be on the grind harassing somebody. I got to get up, ignore all the harassment, and get the work out and keep getting the message out, you know? So. Shout out again to 13 Serpents. Appreciate it, man. Shout out to Randy Conzi. Thank you. Euphoria producer just died at 44. That's crazy. If you guys don't know about Euphoria, man. Or wait. Hold on. Oh, God, the show on HBO. I was getting confused for a second. I was thinking of Utopia. But Euphoria. I've been watching that show. See, that show makes me sad. I've been watching that show ever since the actor died at the beginning of the year, slowly getting through it. I'll watch it, and I can only stand to watch 15 to 20 minutes of that show at a time because it's painful to watch. And I guess for anybody who comes from a household full of trauma, it's probably a really painful show to watch. But I'm like, how many people watch this show and resonate with it? I'm sure there's just millions upon. It's sad that we're in a day and age where this is an entertainment show that the world can relate with because this is what they've done to society. You know, it's about a girl who's born and she has opioid addiction from a young age, and she battles with addiction. And I don't even know where the story is going to end up at, but it's just like it's sad, man. And earlier this year, the drug dealer, the main drug dealer, he died by the coach, synced up with the show. We were somehow didn't we bring up how Matthew Perry died in the big 126 ritual, 126 weeks from the Friends special. Home box office equals 126 and 54, dead at age 54. The night of the Hunter's Moon, which also equals 54. I'll look up the Kevin Tieran thing if that's how you say it. Thank you. Open Up says, didn't that guy once post a live video cashing out a betting slip from your knowledge? Exactly. And I could show you, just count. The thing about that guy is, so you guys have to realize, by me calling that guy out, he's the biggest financial supporter of my channel. So I lost a lot of support from doing that. But like I said the day that I called it out, I said, part of the reason I've been letting this guy hang around, even though I've been mad suspect, is because of his financial support, and there's not enough. But I said I can't have somebody hanging around the community for any dollar price. And so, again, I did that for the sake of everybody around here. I'm worried about having these people around, what they're really up to at these gatherings. I had a lot of... He showed up in Oklahoma City. The weirdest thing that actually happened in Oklahoma City is I had a couple come out that night, and they brought me a T-shirt, which was really cool. And they said they were huge fans of the work. And I went out and hung out with them all night, and they were begging me to come back home. They were really trying to get me to go back home with them. And I told them I didn't want to drink a lot, but I did drink a little bit with them that night. And that's why I didn't drink later in Oklahoma City, because I try not to drink, and I'd already drank that night, the first night. But I was thinking about going back and hanging out with them at their place, because I'm always suspicious of all the weirdos that come around me. But I asked them something, because I was just like, to make sure, because I was surprised that out of time hanging out with them, there was one thing they hadn't brought up all night, and I was just surprised that they hadn't brought it up, because at the time he was a major component of the community. I said, what do you guys think about Rambo's work, by the way? They're like, who? I said Rambo. They're like, who's Rambo? And you got to realize, these people said they've been following me the whole time. This couple that came out to hang out and get drinks, been around with them all. I played pool with them all that night. They acted just dumbfounded about Rambo. And then that's when I decided not to go hang out with them. I was like, there's no way they've been around this whole time and they don't know who Rambo is. I'm glad I asked that question. So, but yeah, that's when these two weirdos showed up that we're talking about also. The ones doing the gaslighting and falsely accusing. And again, the financial support just gone down nonstop since Oklahoma City. Should have been a thing to send it way up. Should have put us really on the map with a lot of people and said, damn, these people got... And when we were in Oklahoma City, what was crazy is we found out the Masonic Lodge behind where the explosion happened, it sold for $201,000. It's part of the history of it. I thought, oh my God. There's no way we're wrong. But yeah, just ever since doing Oklahoma City, man, there's just been way more weird people that have come around, division, all this weird crap. Support's just fallen major. But again, the reason support's fallen off is just like when people come up and say, they're like, it doesn't let me sign up for Patreon anymore. It canceled mine and I can't get back on there even though my card's good. It's some kind of clamping down. And I guess really I think about it, I'm like, yeah, it's because we're really messing with, serious lies in history, and we've really figured it out. if you're what's being exposed and you have as much authority and clout as you do, from news media to government to police to big tech, I mean, you can see how it can be achieved. But yeah, and again, I could show you our text messages too. He has tons of text messages. Thanks, hit big again tonight. Your knowledge is that's why it's just like, what a fake fraud, dude. I mean, you've just been sitting here winning and complimenting and tipping, and now you're just gonna flip on a dime because I called you out for rightful reasons. Got to make sure there's not just snakes hanging around, which there are. How would I explain Gematria to Muslims? Well, again, I just start with the sequence of numbers. Maybe this is what I would say. After I answer this question, then we're coming back to this for Euphoria. I'd go back to 1968, because in 1968, so many things happened, including the Quran code being discovered. The Quran code was discovered in 68 that says 19 is at the center of the Quran. And remember, 1968, you have that. You have World Trade Center construction begins in New York. You have 911's made the National Emergency Dialing Code. You have George W. Bush graduates from Yale and Skull and Bones. Boeing was founded by a Skull and Bones member. They debuted their jumbo jetliners that year. They're out in Seattle, where the designer of the World Trade Centers came from, in Gematria, Seattle, Washington, 68. Maybe you don't get to that piece yet. But you just show how all this stuff went down in 68. And then the lead hijacker on 9/11, who's supposedly Muslim, was born on September 1st, which is the first day of the ninth month, like 19. And they said he was the lead of 19 hijackers. So you can show how this 19, where it becomes significant, is with the moon and its 19-year cycle, which is important to the Abrahamic religions, and especially Judaism. And then maybe you could spiral out into how COVID-19 came 19 years later in the pattern 19 years. But you could kind of just like get them to understand an example like that. And then maybe the Prophet Muhammad. Muhammad Ali, he died on June 3rd, 6-3, like how they believe the Prophet Muhammad died at age 63, and 2016 is the 63rd triangular number, and Muhammad Ali died in 2016. But they had the 19-mile funeral procession for Muhammad Ali in Louisville. And then that year, the star college football player, which started right after that, was Lamar Jackson. You can show him out in Gematria Jackson's 19. You can show him out Muhammad Ali's 201. Name given to him, and he was used as a divisive figure in history. People took sides over Muhammad Ali. But I don't know, the Muhammad Ali, dead on 6-3, Prophet Muhammad, 19, all that stuff. That might be a good starting point. I suppose other than that, I'd explain it to just like I would have any other religion. Can show them all the 74s. Muhammad equals 74, like Jesus, like Jewish, like Lucifer, like a cult, like all the 74s. Muhammad Ali, we predicted 3 years before he died why he died age 74, and he did, sadly. We've been nailing predictions for a long time. Understanding why before it happened, because we learned a little something about the secrets of this language that you see all these fake truthers, they just won't talk about. Again, you guys got to wake up to all these fake truthers that won't share this knowledge. I think that's the way to recognize who the fake truthers are, and that should set off a light bulb that almost everybody's a fake truther. Anybody who never shared this knowledge in the last decade, I think they're a fake truther. How could you not share this knowledge? All the correct predictions, all the forecasting, all the proof, all the evidence, all the knowledge, all the meaning, all the importance. You're not going to share it? You're just going to continue to show pictures or videos of cops fighting with people, auditors. It's probably going to get us to where we need to be. It's probably going to stop the next 9/11. It's probably going to stop the next war. Acting like it's like these auditor channels. It's like, did all these auditors grow up thinking like cops were really great people? Weird. I didn't know anyone thought cops were great people. Thought even like their own families knew they weren't great people, since they're the most abused. You guys didn't know that? Look it up. It's been that way for longer than I've been alive. Most abused families are families of cops. Who thought cops were great people? Most abuse in any type of profession household is cops. Does it surprise you? I mean, here's how funny my life is, you guys. One of my neighbors growing, if you go look into the Portland area, there's car dealerships called COP, C-O-P-P. One of my neighbors was a member of that family. He didn't own the car dealerships, but he was actually a police officer. He was a police officer with the last name Cop. And the only time I've been picked up by my neck and nearly strangled and picked up by an adult as a child was by this man. And why did he do that to me as a child? I was somebody who was really nice to his son, who was about a year and a half younger than me. I treated him like he was my little brother because I didn't have a brother. I met him when I was 7, and he was about 5.5 at the time. And, you know, like, play sports with him and catch with him all the time. One time I threw him a pass. It was like, it was just unbelievable. I was just amazed by the whole reaction. I threw him a pass and he didn't catch it. I was probably 9 years old at the time. And the ball hit him in the face, and he started to cry, and he ran inside and said, "Zach hit me in the face." And his dad came storming out, Mr. Cop, and picked me up by the neck and lifted me up and said, "Don't put a hand on my child again." And I couldn't even say anything because I was getting choked. And then when he put me down, he stormed back in. But I remember I was saying, I said, "I didn't hit him. I threw the ball to him." You know? So that's also but I didn't dedicate my life to go harassing cops. I knew he wasn't the only bad cop in the world. That's also a weird, real story I have from my arsenal of my lifehood. Choked out by Mr. C-O-P-P. I thought about you remember traumatic things happening. I remember when I was a kid, I was thinking like, did I throw the ball too hard? Should I not have thrown that? I didn't throw it that hard. I lobbed it more for the. We didn't play again that day, but the next time we played, I remember I had a little more loft on the ball. So yeah, he never apologized to me for that in my life, man. You know, though, the way you are as a kid, though, because I was probably about 9 years old when that happened. You still, even after that happened, it's just like, and my mom. I remember my mom being mad at my dad that he wouldn't do anything about it. But I understood as a kid why my dad didn't want to mess with the cop, right? Like you don't mess with the authorities; they're the authorities. So you do learn these things as a young person. Like you're this, they're the authorities. They'll put you in jail. Don't mess with them. So yeah, but anyway, it doesn't make me want to go harass cops every day. I know that cops at the end of the day, they're just doing their job too, just like everybody else who's committing all the crimes. But really, everyone should resign from their positions of authority because this authority is illegitimate and needs to be stopped. I guess just to say one more thing, you guys, before I get off and end this stream. The reason we're here today at this point in the world where so many things are in jeopardy, like we know that the American lifestyle is in jeopardy. Feeling like you have any type of freedom, it feels like it's just barely there. The right to speak out, the freedom of speech, it feels like it's just barely there. You know, the right to bear arms, and you have a huge element of America that want to see the right to bear arms taken away, just like it has been in so many other countries. Um, and that's because people have forgotten history. They don't, again, just like Thomas Jefferson said, every 19 years there has to be a little essentially spilling of the blood to preserve liberty. He said that every 19 years there should be a revolution. And why do you think Thomas Jefferson? See, you guys, that's why you got to ask questions. You would, first of all, you would never know that Thomas Jefferson said that if you didn't do some independent reading. I didn't learn that in slave school. I learned that from reading other books. One of the best things that ever happened to me in life was a bookstore. It was called Abraxas Books in Seattle. You can look it up. It doesn't exist anymore, but I'm sure the old Internet Archive. It moved to downtown Seattle where I was. They had a branch in the Green Lake area, and then they moved to downtown Seattle. I'm in my early 20s. I love to read books at this time. I read a lot of books. I was excited about the new bookstore, and I can't even remember what book I brought up, but the book, the man who ran the store, I didn't realize he was the owner, but he's the guy at the front desk. He was impressed by this book I grabbed. He's like, he goes, "You look a little bit young to be reading about something like this." And I thought, I said, well, I said, these are the kind of things I'm into. And then we got into a conversation. He was really impressed. This is when Obama was running for office. It's probably like early 2008. And he's like, I can't believe you know these things. He's like, I can't believe you have these opinions. So I developed this nice relationship with this bookstore. He would give me all kinds of great books to read. He's like, here, you got to read this one. Read this one. He's like, be careful with this. I keep this one at my own house. These are rare. Be nice to this. I'd say, thank you so much for trusting me to read it. He gave me so, and that's where I found out little nuggets like this. Just reading all these little books, just little pieces of history I'd never heard before. Meeting that man, he helped put me onto a lot of things. And again, that's it's like you seek knowledge, you end up around people who care about knowledge and who know things, and then you learn things from them. Those who seek find. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's like along the way where I found the Thomas Jefferson 19-year nugget. But I remember reading that when I was like 19 years. What? Like I didn't know why. I didn't know why. Years later, it's like, oh, I remember that now. The 19-year, okay. 19-year cycle. I'm starting to see what's going on here. Okay, Thomas Jefferson knew something. Thomas Jefferson was worried about what would happen when the Jesuits came out of suppression. Isn't it interesting to look back at that now and see how he's one of the presidents who got killed on 7/4? You know, the one who wrote some letters to John Adams about what might happen when the Jesuits come out of suppression, only for them both to die on the exact same day, July 4th, 1826. 1,826 days before Monroe dies on 7/4, who also had a little thing against the Catholic Church. Isn't it funny? That's why other people's research, I feel like I feel like the fake truth community, they all regurgitate the same shit. They all don't know what they're talking about. I mean, yeah, Balfour Declaration, Rothschild. How about looking at how that Rothschild that's addressed to died on the 201st day of his age, and how State of Israel's 201, and how that's the number of the Jesuits who clearly created Israel in a big Catholic ritual, and then off David Ben Gurion by the 201 code, the first prime minister. You think who's running the nation is Jews? Oh, you're wrong. That's not who runs the nation. It's the Jesuits who run Israel, just like they run America, like they run pretty much everything. Your news, your Hollywood, all of it. Make sure all these photos are just right every day with all the right ritualism to it. And by the way, for all the people that have hung around this community and are now riding with the obvious agents, again, you guys better wake up that the smart people will start to see some of you guys who've been hanging around this community pretending to be something you're not. They're going to start to see that you're the frauds because you're riding with the frauds. There's nobody with the brain who sees that the people who are coming at me are the right ones right now. There's nobody with the brain who's falling for their shit. I take the time to address it for the dummies, who need the assistance. And don't get offended that I called you a dummy. Take that like a man and own it and realize I'm trying to help you out. You don't want to be a dummy in this world. You'll end up as a medical guinea pig and worse. Things we've been keeping people from doing over here. Day after day with facts and knowledge, foresight, understanding, not one-dimensional. All right, hold up. I gotta look at the so the Euphoria producer is dead at 44. I mean, already before we even look into it any further, we're just already going 44 again. I mean, 44. I wrote a book about it. Fateful. Kill. 44. Matthew Perry dead 44 years after his first acting credit. And a million more. Let's look it up. Kevin Turin dies, Euphoria, and The Idol. I don't know what The Idol is, but looks like everyone's got the same thing. Euphoria and The Idol producer. Looks like maybe Deadline. The first was to publish it, it looks like. Looks like they broke the news. So it was actually that. So this news broke yesterday on the Superior General's birthday. Again, it's the Superior General. The Jesuits consider themselves a military order. So just, again, understand the word military is 44. Lil Willie just made fun of the 44 overlap with military and killing, all these words. But again, kills 44, shooting 44. You just had the former military do the mass shooting in Maine on the 44th parallel with the 4-4 birthday. Again, gunfires 44, mass shooters 44. Again, where military is 44, troopers 44, officers 44. The word soldier has the 44. Soul, die, R the 18th letter. Got to be 18 to die under the sun, soul. Catholic Church calendar, language, their concepts, tributes to the military and the Templars, all on October 7th in the same day, the day they use over and over. Military 107 like 10-7, the day leaving 85 days like Templar. The Jesuit motto is Jesus Hominum Salvator, 85, with the IHS letters for it, with the Templar cross right above it. And then all the other things that go with Jesus Hominum. Again, for the new person who's here, watch enough videos until you know why all of those Jesus Hominum Salvator numbers are so important to what's going on right now with the Jesuits and Pope Francis and the history of the church and how long they've been worshiping the sun in the sky for. Until you know the answers to all those questions, make sure you watch. If you watch 3 more videos, you'll have the answers to all those questions, and then things will sink in even more. But Kevin Turin dies on the Superior General's birthday. The news breaks. To read it, Kevin Turin, producer of Euphoria and The Idol, has died. He was 44. Turin died suddenly over the weekend. His cause of death is not known at this time. The Jesuits, for centuries, have been warned about killing people with arsenic. You guys remember this hip-hop song, M.O.P., Cold as Ice? They take the 80s song sample that goes, you're as cold as ice, you're willing to sacrifice our love. But they cut the sample so it's you're as cold as ice, you're willing to sacrifice. And then the song's all about how, they're the biggest killers on the block. You got all these deaths in the hip-hop world. They got the lyrics in that song about how they got the faux, the 44, that's the type of gun. Just like how 3-6 Mafia, the Memphis group that's connected to so many deaths. Is it Lord Infamous that died on the day leaving 44 days left in the year? Or maybe It's Lord Infamous and the other Memphis rapper who recently died, who did the Illuminati 201 ritual. I can't think of his name right now. It's all synced up with MLK's killing on 4/4 in Memphis. Anyway, there's it's crazy how in hip hop music, it's like that's where it's just like how horror movies in the movie genre have the most clear gematria references. If you're paying attention, or the number significance, hip hop music's just got so much too. But 44, deadly number, 4, the number of death from the Far East. Turin died suddenly over the weekend. Remember how suddenly over 24 hours, 4 sheriffs committed suicide in Robert Luna's office, synced up with the day he took office? Just like how they had that shooting synced up with him taking office by the same code. Turin died suddenly over the weekend. Cause of death again, not known. The producer is survived by his wife, Evelina, and his 2 sons, Jack and James. His father, Edward Turin, said in a statement Sunday night, this is reminding me of the House of Usher. You know, it's like the father's, just like Matthew Perry's father's still living on. And Matthew Perry's first film was with his father, which turned 44 years old just days before his death. 27 days before his death, to be exact. Hold on, I got to take a phone call real quick. The love?
Yes.
What's going on?
Are you available to talk?
Can I call you back in like 5 minutes?
Sure.
All right, I will. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, that's a sweet lady. Here, if I can't get this done quick enough in 5 minutes, I'll do a separate stream on it later. But Edward Turin, Kevin was so incredibly special, this world is going to be less without him. So that's the nice statement after the son dies, especially out of nowhere. I feel like if I lost my son like that, I'd be like, it doesn't make any sense that my son just dropped dead at 44. I want some answers. And please stay away, media. We're grieving right now. There's way too many suspicious deaths. Hey, by the way, you should check out GematriaEffectNews, a gentleman that's been on the internet trying to raise awareness about this kill pattern in the world of celebrity for a long time. Help us out. He didn't say that, though. Turin first produced Larry Clark's What's Up Rockers and later went on to work with Sam Levinson and produce Malcolm and Marie, Trey Schultz's Waves, Nicholas Jareki's Arbitrage, Nate Parker's The Birth of a Nation. No, we know that one was by the numbers. Cornell Mondrusco's Pieces of a Woman, Raman Barani's 99 Homes and T West's X Trilogy. Turin's work in television included Levinson's Euphoria and The Idol, as well as Olivier. Here, you know what? I'm not going to have a time to go through all of this like I normally would. It does give us his birthday. He was born in 79. So he just, well, obviously he's 44. Okay, hold on. Let's measure from August 16th. I was going to say, we just talked about 79 with Matthew Perry, but doesn't that make so much sense? August 16th, 1979. So, like, for example, like people say, like, you don't need to know gematria because people already know everything, that the whole game's rigged. So if you want to show somebody about ritual murder in Hollywood, what would be the better way to go about it than gematria in light of all the proof and evidence and it being part of Hollywood films and, you know, songs sung by the Police, Murder by Numbers. Let's go from the anniversary. It's 89 days later, which is the 11th Fibonacci and the 24th prime. Or hold on. The news broke November 12th. Take it back. Okay, he died 88 days later. Now, that's actually more interesting because this news broke. Or wait, is that what the news broke November 12th? So that was 88 days after his birthday. Did it say? It said over the weekend. Well, over the weekend, you'd have to assume Saturday or Sunday. So let's just say he died November 11th. That'd be 87 days after his birthday or his 88th day of his age, whereas November 12th would be 88 days after his birthday. So either way, you have the 88. And I just made the point about arsenic and the Jesuits. And if you haven't seen this one, I know you haven't been there that long because it's a lesson we've gone over 1,000 times. It's in my old book. Poison is 88. Arsenic poisoning is 88. You know, we call it the poison pattern. Right here with the purple. Right here with Donald Trump, Mr. Purple, poisoning the minds with his divisive ways. He's the proud pussy grabber. Hey, look at me. When you're rich and famous, you can just grab women by the pussy. You know, I don't care if they're married. I'm the big shot TV star. And look at me. I'm about to be the president pussy grabber. Don't forget all the stuff they did with Stormy Daniels by the numbers. All right, I'll look into this more later. I'll do a better decode on this, but I got to call Sweet Lady back. So again, thank you to the donors. Thank you for the generosity, and better decode coming on the Euphoria producer. Appreciate the heads up. Till next time, True Six.